Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the second Rock Me to the Top Azure Dreams tournament. If you're new here, you're in for hopefully a good treat. Nice and late at night for all the EU friendliness, and I think we might have had an early start here. Oh, it looks like the countdown's already done, so they are getting off already. They are going hard. I'm your host, Dreamy, and I will be here with my co-host, Hextree.
Hello everyone, I'm Hextree. I just released the countdown, so they're off.
Yeah, so if this is your first time here and you don't know what this game is, it is a dungeon crawling, tower climbing, town building adventure. All you're really going to see in this race is the dungeon crawling aspect of it, which is the most exciting part, probably.
Yes.
So they'll both be entering the tower. We do have an intro skip and a seated tower. Normally this is a randomized 40-floor adventure where both sides would be, facing completely different stuff, but thanks to the wonderful programmer, he's built us a de-randomizer where they will all get the same items very quickly on the first floor, skipping the tutorial floor, and then head right on into the tower where they will both face the exact same challenge, allowing them a little bit more of a fair run than it normally would be, where one person could get some really bad RNG and someone could have some really good RNG.
Indeed, yeah. From the previous matches we've seen, thanks to this de-randomizer, the matches have been very close in many cases. Sometimes both players reach very close to level 40.
Yeah, I think we've already had a few people get to the top. There is 40 floors to the tower. It gets progressively harder as you go up, of course. It scales very, very quickly. Generally, the game expects you to die pretty early on and to go back in and out, a whole bunch of times as you build up a nice set of monsters and power them up. Your main character does not grow. He resets every time you leave the tower. It is a bit of a roguelite. Both of them getting a little bit low here thanks to some misses. Seraph has to be a little careful here because he is one miss away from ending his run before it even really starts. So yeah, everything has a little bit of an aspect of RNG to it. We're seeing our first wand pickup here, I believe.
I didn't quite catch what wand it was.
Is it jittering for you two? Is that just me?
Seems like Gene's stream is lagging a bit.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of stream lag here, so we didn't get to see what kind of a wand that was, but generally any wand... Oh, it's a money wand. Seeing it on Seraph's side, so a bit of a special wand.
It might be worth switching the audio to Seraph's.
Sure. Let me see if I can do that here.
That will at least correct the audio. So yeah, to answer Rhetorical Answer's question about the de-randomizer, we do also have randomizer options. You can randomize the familiars you start with, you can randomize the spells on the balls, you can randomize elements of monsters, and you can randomize the monsters that appear on each floor, so anything can appear anywhere.
Yeah, so because this game was so insanely RNG heavy, as we saw in the first Rock Me to the Top tournament, it can be a little difficult to create a set of fair matches because, even doing best of 3 to try and make it like more of a, oh my god, blanking here tonight, it's late, consistency-based thing, it's still possible for one person to get, 3 races worth where they just get totally bodied in the early floors, and the other person gets just an easy ride all the way up. You can hit elevator trains where you get 5 or 6 in a row. We had one where the de-randomizer had a little bit of a hiccup, and we got an identical floor 6 times in a row. So,
wow.
Randomness aside, this is the most fair way that we could make things, thanks to, again, programmer who built this for us, where both of them will fight the same towers. There's still a little bit of RNG because of how you move. So every time you move, everything randomizes, so monster movement, monster spawns, and all that. So things can still turn out pretty differently, but generally it's a lot closer than it was.
Yeah, the RNG is inherent in the players themselves as opposed to the game.
Yeah, so essentially every time you take a step, the game rolls a whole bunch of dice, and you never know what you're going to get. So we've seen our first wand pick up here for both of them. They're both using that money wand now. Wands are inherently the best thing that you can get in these runs because you're not going to build up a sword. Generally, in this game, you can use sands to power up your items, but because you're not looking to do that, you're trying to find the fastest way to do the most damage, and that is with mixture magic and wands. Wands give you a 25% boost to your magic, and then if you do find an elemental wand that matches your starting familiar, then you just do a whole boatload of damage and things get very safe. So as we see, they're starting to take a lot of fights now that they've found their first wand, and they can kind of plow through these early floors. They're going to take their time a little bit at the start here, take the first 5 floors fairly slow, and build up an item base because, as we said earlier, the tower gets very, very nasty very, very quickly, and this is kind of the only little reprieve that they get where they can try and build up an inventory.
Yeah, and also they don't want to risk their opponent getting a very powerful weapon without them also getting the same thing. So they'll probably do as much exploring as they can until it becomes dangerous to do so.
Yeah, so an interesting thing, even though everything is de-randomized, how they play everything is going to be totally different. Some players take things very slow, some players take things very fast, and it's very possible, we've seen it many times before, where one player rushes through a floor and the other player, for some reason, has to take it a little slower, and they manage to find, big pickups like a strong monster egg or a better wand, things like that. So there's always like a little bit of luck to this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still neck and neck right now. It should be pretty slow, but they're both almost at floor 5, where we're going to see them start to maybe pick up speed a bit. Neither of them has really picked up any great items. They both picked up the money wand and a Mazar seed, it looks like, so they'll be able to level themselves up a bit. But ideally, they want to find a better shield, a better weapon, and then maybe an egg if they're really, really lucky.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks like Seraph fed the Hazak herb to his familiar, so that gives your familiar a boost of about 3 MP. Can be good for lots of those herbs and seeds you don't really have a use for. Just throw them at your familiar, give them some more MP.
Yeah, MP is not as much of a factor in this run if you're hitting the point where your familiar runs at it, because they start with a Peter Fruit, which will give them a whole boatload of MP when they get low. And if your familiar is still alive by the time you run out of your second set of MP, you're probably doing very well anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a little thing that they can do early on, is just toss some herbs on their familiar to extend that life a little bit and just play a little bit safe. So we see Seraph here moving up to floor 5, taking a little bit of an early lead. Still nothing super stupendous. He just picked up a Tumna fruit, which will help quite a bit once they start reaching some of the scarier monsters. He does get pinched by 2 Mana Weaves here, which is going to be a little problematic, but he still has enough choices that he shouldn't have any real problem here. The Tumna fruit allows him to turn a enemy minion into a frog if he likes, which will make it very weak and easy to kill. Currently, he's using the high ground advantage to beat up 1 Mana Weave. I don't think he'll take the other fight. He'll probably just move. Oh, he does decide that he's just gonna tank it out and fight these guys. So looks like he's gonna play it a little safe here.
Yeah, he should be alright because he still has charges on that fireball if all goes to hell.
Yeah, Rust Trap on Gene's side, gonna make his shield weaker than it already is, but it will not affect his wand. We did see that they picked up a poison ball. Not generally the ball that you're looking for, but it helps against some of the monsters that have an advantage on your starting familiar, because you can just kind of poison them and then bleed them to death until they're about 1 hit. It also, interestingly, has a little bit of an AoE, so if they get more than 1 monster cornering them, they can hit a bunch of them. We're going to see another ball pick up over on GeneFreak's side in a second here. He's going to be hoping for something good, but he has to fight for this one. So both players getting a decent bit of experience here. It looks like it is a pillar ball, so another offensive ball.
Yes.
the only offensive magic that they're going to find in balls generally is either fire magic or acid rain, and if they're lucky enough to find an acid rain, they're going to be doing pretty good. Acid rain gives them one charge that will essentially one-shot just about any number of monsters in a room, as long as their level is decently high.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pillable is in fact the most powerful of the fireballs.
Yeah. We're seeing an egg pickup here for Seraph. It is in the room that he spawned in, so I'm sure that GeneFreak will pick that up as well. I don't believe either of them have picked up a truth glass yet, so they won't know for a bit what it is, but I believe they're at the bottom end of what could end up being a clown egg if they're very, very lucky. Very high chance that it's likely a bloom or a palumpa, but we'll have to wait and see.
Checking the stats tables, on floor 6, most likely by far is Balloon.
Yeah.
Then Balloon, Cyclone, and Maneva. Clown is about 9% chance.
Yeah, I figured that was the first one, right? I think that's the first word. Oh, Scarlet Wand pick up here for Seraph. It is on floor 6, so we have to see if GeneFreak is going to take the time to explore, or if he's going to get really unlucky here and just hoof it up the elevator as soon as he finds it. Another wand on Seraph's side. He's not even going to bother checking it. He's found the wand that he wants. In this game, when you're running it, generally the only wand that's actually better than a Scarlet Wand in this setting would be a Train Wand. We did see Gene... Whoops! Gene found it, but he was too full to pick it up. He's going to have to juggle his inventory around a bit. The only wand that would be better is actually a Train Wand, but it is an extremely rare item. Does not appear often, so there's a very high chance that they're just going to stick with the Scarlet Wand for the rest of it.
Thing is, in this kind of race, I don't think I would even go for the trained one, because the amount of time it would take to build it up, Scarlet One still gives you that extra 25% over trained one, so...
Yeah, it's definitely the safest play. We have seen a couple people, I think Sand Knight got one in a run recently and managed to make some use of it. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's the only one in the game that can actually be trained up like a sword, which again, unless you're very lucky and kind of swimming in red sands, is not going to make too much of a difference, but it's always something to think about. This floor full of wands, it seems. They're finding a whole bunch of them now. I think Seraph probably not even going to bother to check, yeah. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's just going to keep moving. So they're starting to get into the water floors where they're going to start fighting monsters that are quite a bit tougher with their starting familiar. Blooms, generally not super threatening once you have a Scarlet Wand, as they do a fairly low amount of damage, but they do have a high HP count. Their big thing is that they can brainwash your monster, but thankfully your starting familiar is very loyal and will not be brainwashed, so it makes them fairly easy to deal with early on. Really what they're going to be worried about are the Mana Weavas, which they've already started to get through, and then U-Boats, which we're seeing on Seraph's side now, which are the first really dangerous minion that you're going to encounter. They can sink into the floor, at which point you can't interact with them outside of forcing them to move off the tile, and that means that they always get the first attack on you. We saw GeneFreak throw the Mazar Seed on his starting familiar. Looks like he wants to build it up a bit while he can. First Tumna Fruit use for Seraph. He took a hit from the U-Boat, got fairly low, and decided to play it safe, so he will not have that later on. Seeing a lot of loops as well.
Yeah. So there's another U-Boat on the way.
Yeah, he's trying to decide if he's going to go for that bell. Bells are generally something that you want to look for, because Holy Bell is probably one of the best safety items in the game. He is just going to leave it behind. He says it's not worth fighting for. I think there's only a 1 in 4 chance that it was the bell that he was looking for, so...
So he's going to dance on the U-Boat a bit. That's when you step on a submerged U-Boat, you kind of force him into another tile and you don't give him a chance to rise up.
Yeah,
essentially you can do this indefinitely, but until you run into another monster, of course.
Yeah, we saw in the last race, or the race before, the last one that I casted at least, our players were doing some really fancy U-Boat dancing. And it's just one of the many tricks that you can pick up to help make yourself more consistent and safe. We are seeing that he is doing a fairly good job of avoiding it right now, and I think he's just going to keep trying. He's going to hope that he doesn't get pinched by another one, but I believe he's running out of rooms the elevator could be in, so he should be pretty safe. He does run into a clown. Going to go ahead and push that U-boat back and try and go the other way. GeneFreak moving up to the 8th floor, closing the gap. We're going to have to see if he gets luckier in trying to escape the room without having to deal with the U-boat.
It's getting a little tricky for Seraph.
Yeah, Seraph is starting to build up quite a bit of a monster train here, and all of them are awake and angry, so he's going to have to... He goes ahead and uses a Holy Bell, so there we go. We get to see how great the Holy Bell is here. He's probably going to take... Yeah, he's going to take that free clown kill, as it is at a disadvantage elementally, so it's fairly easy to kill. He does get closed off. He finally does get to go see the bell. It is another Holy Bell, so he goes
Nice.
1 for 1 with that, getting a little bit of experience for it. We're seeing the Poison Ball used on GeneFreak's side, so we're going to see him get to bleed 2 of these monsters dry, and this is part of what makes the Poison Ball surprisingly good. A lot of runners don't really pay attention to it, but it can make things a lot easier, especially on floors where you're at a disadvantage elementally. So Seraph looks like he's gotten out of this tricky situation, still looking for the elevator here. This being a pretty tricky floor for both of them, it seems like. We're seeing Gene take a little bit more time to check some of these items. 2 trap loops picked up. Not the most useful, but he's going to go ahead and use them just to keep himself safe as he picks up a Holy Bell and keeps moving. Seraph opting to use the Mazar Seed on himself instead of his familiar, so already a little bit of a difference in how these two play. He looks like he did hit a slow trap, so that U-boat crept up on him really fast. Finally gets out of the slow period, but he does have a bunch of monsters on him now that he's going to have to deal with.
Yeah. It's the same 3 monsters.
Yeah, he keeps running into the same group. They just respawn and came back. Does go ahead and use a Fireball here. His starting familiar is going to take some damage. He's going to probably have to use a little bit more here. He's going to choose some fancy movement, but I think he's really going to have to figure something out to deal with. He is going to use another ball charge. I don't think there was any way to get out of this any more safely than just starting to use some of these items, because while blooms are not super threatening, U-boats do a lot of damage, and bloom's damage will add up, especially on his familiar. So he does have to play it safe, but he gets out of it again. A little bit worse for wear, but he's still got a decent bed of items that he can rely on. He does finally find the elevator. It was in the next room that he was going into, but he got pushed out of a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, that was quite a lengthy floor for both of them, I think.
Yeah, Gene's still struggling with it too, so finally seeing through his items. It looks like he only has a couple safety items, so they're probably going to be paying a little bit of extra attention right now, trying to keep an eye out for any items that might be useful. He does find a room with some good stuff in it. There's a scroll as well as an Olim, so that could end up being a Holy Scroll or a Malicious Scroll, which you would absolutely pick up. Just going to have to clear out this clown really quick. Won't be anything big. A Decursed Scroll, not super useful. I don't foresee him switching up a whole lot item-wise, but he has the space, so he might as well hold on to it in case he finds a new shield. And we see Gene finally escape the floor as well.
Have either of them picked up any shields yet?
I believe Seraph is using an Iron Shield, if I'm not mistaken. So nothing very strong. It looks like Gene is also using the same shield. So nothing super strong. I imagine if they find like a diamond or a mirror shield, they'll probably pick it up. We see Seraph going up to floor 10, getting into the fire floors. These are the... Oh, nice quick elevator. They're coming up on floor 12 now, so the fire floor is pretty dangerous. Monsters start hitting very hard, even if they don't have an elemental advantage on you. They're all very strong and tough, so he has to be careful. Seraph going ahead and using a fire orb. Doesn't want to mess around with this volcano. They'll probably take a little bit of time to farm on some Dreamins when they can. And then once they get to floor 12, that is actually where you can acquire a second collar, allowing you to have 2 familiars or to use fusion if you like. We're going to have to see if either of them decides to actually search for it, if it doesn't spawn with them.
Yeah, they might be thinking they have a clown egg, so yeah, they might go for that collar.
That's true, they still have that egg, which might color their thinking. They haven't found any truth specs yet, so they don't really know what they're holding. Another egg on Seraph's side here, so it's going to be a generous egg seed for this run, it seems.
floor 11 is the first point at which it could be a Garuda.
Oh, there we go. So Garuda, absolutely the best egg that you can find in this run. Garuda has an ability called Abduct, which at first seems fairly useless. It lets them pick up something and drag it away to a different location. But it turns out that you can use it on yourself to teleport to a different room. And because of how low the MP cost is, it's essentially an ability that will allow you to clear floors much, much faster than you normally would. We saw Seraph. He played that very safely. He was determined to get that egg. He attack walked every step to make sure he didn't run across a trap. Gene also moving on to floor 11, so we're going to have to see if he takes the time to explore a bit here, or if he makes the right steps to find that egg. Otherwise, we might see the first instance of somebody missing up on a very good item by no fault of their own. Seraph, having used a trap loop and walking into a room with two extremely dangerous traps that he...
Yeah, that could have been bad, yeah.
I believe Gene is on the path to find the egg, so he should run across it before moving up as well. Chaos Trap for Seraph. Thankfully, the crack... No! Oh, he does pass it up, so it looks like Gene does not have the egg that Seraph has, so it's very possible that Seraph picked up a game-winning egg. We're going to have to wait and see. Both hitting floor 12 now, so they have the ability to... they both hit the same Chaos Trap. They both... Let's see. So Seraph does manage to find the blue collar. Now that he has that, we might see him try and take the time to start hatching some of those eggs.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether he's holding out for Truth Glass or just want to go make a beeline straight for that second egg. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. There is no definite right answer. If he wants to start trying to hatch the eggs, it does take quite a bit of time, and you kind of have to juggle playing safe and moving quickly because you don't want to let your opponent get too much of a lead. We do see both of them actually pick up the blue collar, so we might get to see some interesting shenanigans. So both eggs potentially have the ability to be something extremely good. The first egg that they acquired could be a clown, which is a familiar that when used or fused will double the magic of whatever it turns into. So this allows you to do an enormous amount of damage well ahead of when you normally would. And alternatively, the other egg could be a Garuda, which we've already talked about. We did see Gene use his egg to egg bomb a Kraken, so he used the starting egg that you get, which is just a Palumpa. But when you throw an egg at an enemy monster, it will actually immediately hatch and attack with, I believe, 50 levels or something like that. Or is it 20 levels? Am I getting this back? Maybe it's 50 for the magic. Anyway, much, much stronger than it would normally be. And it will perform either an attack or its spell on a random monster inside of its range.
And you better hope it's not a spell most of the time. You know, like clown hatching and then trying to level down your enemy. Yeah,
there's a lot of ways that it can go bad, so it's a risky play, but sometimes it's the only play that can potentially save you from certain...
Looking at the stats table, that second egg could also be a clown or a U-boat, so actually, overall there's a, say, I think 40% chance it could be one of three very good familiars.
Yeah, so we're seeing Programmer Intent, I confirmed that it is Co's level plus 50 for the eggs, and then Magic is Co's level times 4. So both of them are very, very strong, just in different ways. We are seeing Gene actually take the time to try and hatch his egg. So he's determined to figure out if he's sitting on a gold mine right now. He's only one floor behind, and it is because he did not take the elevator train yet. So he actually isn't really at any deficit. So if he does hatch something like a clown here, it could actually very much make or break the race. So I would probably do something like this. I like knowing what I'm holding on, but we're going to have to see if it pays off here. It could definitely be. Yeah, Sand Knight saying he's an optimist. He believes it's going to be a clown egg. I think it's probably going to be a bloom, but I'm going to hope it's a clown. I want to see some exciting races. U-boat. They got it on floor 6. So very early U-boat egg, but not quite what he was looking for, but still solid pickup here. At any point, he can make use of that to either sacrifice itself to save his life or fuse into his starting familiar if he's feeling.
Well, I mean, the main use of U-boat would be to squeeze out its scout ability until it runs out of MP. You could
yeah,
get
that's a good one
maybe
too.
4 or 5 scouts out of it, which is pretty decent. And then every time you find a herb, just feed it to your U-boat, give him like 1 or 2 MP, and that's enough to do another scout. So
yeah, absolutely. In the sea of bad monsters that egg could have been, he pulled a pretty solid one. So I don't think he's going to feel too bad about the time he used. At some point, if he makes use of it, using the scout ability, he'll definitely save more time than he used hatching it. So it was probably definitely a net positive. We're seeing him take a little bit of a lead here. Yeah,
So
he is going to start using it.
So to answer Simo Rock's question about Garuda, yes, by default we're allowing Garuda and indeed everything else that is in the normal game. Balloons, whatever.
Yes, you're it. The tower is seated, so it has been de-randomized, and they are both facing exactly the same tower. And yeah, Garuda, unless someone... There are people that we have that don't like playing in a race to Garuda, you know? So we do allow them to say no, but in general, most people just accept it as part of the game. So floor 16 here for Gene. Every floor after the... Oh, well... Just moving right on, so I don't even get to see what he was going to do, but every floor that ends in 6 after the first one has the ability to spawn a Barong, which is a very rare monster that will allow them to throw items at it, and it will swap it for something completely different, and it doesn't worry about the rarity tree, so you can get much more powerful items than you probably would normally find if you just sit and give it a shot, but it does take time, and so generally runners will only do it when they feel like they might be behind. And I don't.
So to answer your user's question, he's asking about the seeded nature. So yeah, we have a de-randomizer for this game now. The game has been modified so that players can play on exactly the same tower. As long as they take the same actions, everything should play out the same way. Certainly they'll have the same floor layouts, item positions, initial enemy spawns. Most of the RNG will just be up to what the players themselves decide to do.
Yeah, we did see an Acid Rain while pickup for Seraph, so as we talked about earlier, it's a very, very strong spell that may save him from a normally completely unwinnable situation. We're also seeing Gene get mired in pickets, which are a very annoying monster that is not terribly threatening. So the picket has double speed, so it moves twice, but it does very little damage. However, it can steal random items from you and then teleport away. So if you're holding on to a particular item to save you, it can be very problematic.
Absolutely. So he's going to stick to putting Qn on AI1 to handle the pickets so that it doesn't get in its range.
Yeah, so that's a popular strategy that's come from our runners, is that they'll just back away, let their familiar deal with it to try not to get stolen from. Another good thing about pickets as well is that they're easy to kill and they give a lot of experience for this set of floors. So it allows our runners who aren't really taking many fights and probably getting quite underleveled to build back up a bit and make it a little bit safer. We are seeing Gene make good use of his U-boat. I believe it should be running out of MP fairly shortly though, but it has built him a small lead. Nothing too crazy, but you never know. The one floor that it gets you ahead might be the one floor that wins you the game. Part of the rule set for this, while we do have our runners trying to reach the 40th floor, this is still a speed run, so we do set an hour limit to stop them from playing extremely slow and safe, because they could kind of brute force their way most of the way there if they were able to. And so the rule that goes along with that is that if both runners die on the same floor, which will end their run, it's the person who got there first that will take the victory. Gene once again using his scout ability, and still has an MP. Apparently it doesn't take quite as much as we expected, because he's getting a lot of value out of it.
Yeah.
5 or 6 floors now that he's used it on. We're also coming... Sorry, go
Sunlight
ahead.
points out a little quirk in the games. If you have a Griffin out, that does indeed block the Picket's steal ability. There are some other familiars that do some strange things, like we recently discovered that if you have a Flame out, it blocks, which one was it? Zoo's Paralyze ability.
Huh.
It's very odd, but yeah, apparently that works. And there's a couple of others as well.
Yeah, it's one of the great things about this game is that there's a lot of depth to it, and even, now 20 some odd years after it's released, we're still learning interesting things about the game. So we are seeing Gene get into the 20s, as well as Seraph coming into the 18th floor. We're seeing Arachnes, which is one of the most dangerous monsters in the game. It has double attack power. And Gene is going to be coming up on Vipers, which are not only extremely strong and tanky, but they will lower your attack if they hit you. So things get extremely dangerous from here on out, and our runners are probably going to start facing really problematic situations where they have to start burning some of the items that they built up. We do see that the U-boat finally ran out of MP, and Gene, I think he had picked up another Pita Fruit along the way. So he had a spare that he could give to his U-boat. So he is going to keep using the scout ability. And it is giving him quite a lead at this point. I think he's gotten through about 7 or 8 floors now very, very quickly thanks to the scout ability. And he does plan to keep using it. Sand pickup here. Let's see what it is. It is... He did not pick it up. It looks like he's just going to scout first. I have to imagine he will check that sand, though. If it's a white sand, it can power up their magic ball to let them use it a little bit more, as they are a limited item. Seraph stuck here trying to figure out what he's going to throw away. I did not get a chance to see what that sand was, but it looks like he didn't want to pick it up. So it was probably a red sand.
Couple of Vipers on the way.
Yeah, it looks like he's choosing to collar his familiar to try and play it safe here. I'm not sure what he wants to use, but he's going to start using some of these ball charges to get out of this situation, as he is getting pinched on several sides here. He is going to take a big hit. I don't think he can even use his Holy Bell here. Looks like he's going to frog the Viper, and then probably use another spell on that Wee Dog, but that other Wee Dog is getting very, very close. It is going to be pretty tight. On Seraph's side, he got hit by a bunch of traps. He's very low now between a poison and a slam trap. He's really, really low, but I imagine he's going to take a little bit of time here to recover before heading on up to floor 19. We do see Gene slink away, thanks to the scout ability that he used earlier. He knew exactly where the elevator was, and he gets away. So he's going to go ahead and pull both of his monsters back out. I imagine he will scout again. Olim pick up here for Seraph, so he does have a pretty healthy base of items right now to keep him going. He's got to be hoping that his opponent just drops at some point soon. It's going to be tough here for Seraph to make a comeback. He is sitting on the U-boat egg as well. I don't think he's likely to hatch it at this point, and even if he wants to, it's going to be very difficult. The great thing with... One of the things about eggs is that once you get up into the 20s and 30s, it is incredibly difficult to find the amount of time that you need to hatch the eggs, because the monsters are so strong you can't kind of just beat them up as they come to keep hatching. So at this point, unless he finds a truth spec and finds out that second egg is a Garuda, it's very likely that he's just going to save them for egg bombs. I don't think he's going to worry too much about the U-boat. Even if he does find a truth spec and see that it's a U-boat, I don't expect him to hatch it. Yeah. But it's an option that he will have. For Gene, it has 100% paid off. He's definitely gotten way ahead of where he would have been if he had not hatched it. So his decision to, take that extra 2-3 minutes to hatch that egg has just continued to pay off for him over and over and over again here.
Absolutely.
He is in a bit of a tight spot here. Again, running into fairly high monster density. He's fighting a stealth. Stealth, not generally a very tough monster, but still, at this point, anything can be problematic. He did go ahead and use a poison ball to start lowering the HP of them. I think he's going to have to back up here. Yeah, and let the poison start doing its work. He doesn't really have enough HP to tank pretty much any more hits from these two. It looks like the stealth is out of HP. He's going to let his monster attack it. He's got to really hope it doesn't hit the Viper. It does just hit the Viper, so he's going to take a free hit here. I'm not sure what he's going to do, but there's not many great choices in this situation, thanks to that stroke of bad luck. He maybe should have chosen to actually command his familiar to attack there, because, yeah, that was a little bit of misfire. He does go ahead and use the Holy Bell. That Viper still has quite a bit of HP. The stealth is one hit. He can kill it at any time. He chooses to attack the Viper. I don't know that that's the choice I would have made. I think he should have finished off that stealth. He does get rewarded with another egg. So, look at me. He goes ahead and throws a coin to do that last 1 damage with the style points. He does now have another egg that could be any number of pretty solid familiars. Though, I think he may have edged out of the top end of where Garudis can come from. So,
so the interesting thing is he might have known that the Viper might have been carrying an egg, because when a Viper picks up an egg on the floor, it makes a little noise that you can hear, even if it's in a different room.
Again, I did not know that. I think the best egg that it could be at this point is an Arachne. But again, at this point, with the amount of time and danger that it would take to hatch it, the only egg that they would ever realistically hatch at this point, unless forced to by like losing a familiar or something, would probably be a Garuda. So
yeah, looking at the stats, Arachne is the most common, along with Picket and Wee Dog.
Yeah, it's very likely that that is a very good egg, but again, he needs a lot of time that he probably will not have. Again, pulling out that U-boat. He's looks like he's been doing what you suggested. He fed it an herb to give it 1 more mana. So he is out, and he's been saving some herbs, so he's going to keep doing. He did pick up a pita fruit too.
Nice.
So he's going to continue using this, and he's picking up herbs along the way to keep doing it. So pretty safe to say that he's going to go until he fully runs out of items, which could be quite a while. Herbs are fairly common, so on the flip side of that,
Sunlight points out a small drawback of Arachnes is that in their natural state, they don't have their double attack unlocked. They actually in a weakened state of about 50%. And so when you hatch an Arachne, if you want to have it at full strength, you better hope you have a Hazard Curb or a Cure All or a Water Crystal. Yeah, Water Crystal as well. Otherwise, it's going to be at half attack.
I don't think it's actually half. I know it's less, but I think it's only about 5 or 6 under. I'm fairly certain. But I could be wrong. Rhetorical saying U-boat more like value boat. Absolutely, it is 100% paying off again and again for him. As he just moves on up. He didn't even need to there, he just found the elevator right away. So he's moving very quickly up on floor 26. Another floor where he can find a barong if he's lucky. Looks like he did spawn into a pretty rough room. Getting into the Mandara and Snowman territory here. So a lot of really, really dangerous enemies. Mandaras can confuse you and also hit like a truck. And Snowmans are just straight tough. Apparently, Sand Knight says, any egg that has been eaten by a Viper will have reduced attack. That's interesting. Looks like he is going to get rid of this Mandara. He does find an Oleum to replace the one that he's using, so it's a net positive here. Picking up another herb to save for his U-boat. And a Wind Seed. Looks like Seraph just finished off a Wee Dog. I think he used a spell for that. Still trucking along. Surprisingly not... he does take a little bit of a miss hit there, but surprisingly not that big of a lead for Gene, despite all that value from the U-boat. Seraph making a pretty good effort at staying close by. Arachnes, when you hatch them, will not have a full... they need a Hazak Herb to fix their attack. They always have a little less than they're supposed to.
Yeah, and even when you cure them, as they continue to gain levels, they'll still gain at their reduced rate.
Yeah, it's a strange little oddity, but their attack is so high that it doesn't generally matter, and Hazic herbs are not super hard to find, so you'll usually get it fixed up quickly. Zoo getting blown up from Gene here. I think his Fire Orb is getting pretty low. It looks like he did run out on the Flame Orb because he's tossing it away. Fireball charge used by Seraph as well. So their initial ball getting pretty low. They do still have the Pillar Ball. Looks like Seraph also has a second Fireball, so he's a ton of magic built up. And Gene moves on up to 27. Hitting an elevator train right away, so he's going to move on up again, more than likely. Just has to deal with the Zoo very quickly, and then he should move on up safely. If you're curious why they're running into Palumpas on these floors, the later 20 floors have two kinds of Palumpas that spawn, much like the mid-tier floors that have trolls that can have different types. There's two types of Palumpa that can spawn. They'll either be the regular level 1 that you just clear out very quickly. They can also spawn very powerful and very frustrating Grumpy Palumpa. Oh, go up trap for Gene on his way to the elevator. And these Palumpas can actually collar jack you, and then you have to kill them to get your collar back, or you just straight up lose it. We do see Truth Specs picked up here for Gene. Since he already hatched one of the eggs, he will be able to see what that second one is if he wants. I don't think he went ahead and used it, but... Oh, and we do see Seraph run into a Grumpy Palumpa, choosing to keep his familiar nice and far away from it so he doesn't get collar jacked. He would have to use some spells on it if he did. Surprisingly dangerous newbie minion. Oop. Trying to get rid of that that fireball, but because of where he placed it, it just jumped back under his feet. Gene moving up to 29 here, running in between a Napless and a Killer. This is not the position he wants to be in. Napless is the highest HP enemy in the game. So there are several enemies in the game that have double stat growth, and Napless's is that they gain a gajillion HP. They're very, very strong and difficult to deal with. You kind of have to hope that they go to sleep. So the Naplesses, every once in a while, will decide they want a nap, and they will just stop. But when you're stuck in between two of them, it's not something you can hope for. He does kill the Killer with a Fireball, and it looks like he oleems one of the Naplesses. We're going to have to wait and see what he decides to do for the next one. Might choose to try and Egg Bomb this, but I don't believe it will do enough damage. Naplesses have well north of 100 HP at this point. Choosing to tank it with his Familiar, so his starting Familiar will only have one more hit on it at this point. He's got to be really careful with how he moves. And it looks like he is going to get away. Finds a C-Seed there that he can use to throw at an enemy, though I don't think he's going to do that. Oh, and the Napless does say, hey, I'm going to take my nap. I've been running too far. And it looks like he is going to get away from this safely. Seraph's still trucking along here.
Well, at this point, I don't expect him to do much fighting. Or at least using a Wind Seed on a water monster will at least allow him to use a Fireball on them.
Yeah, so... yeah, once he runs across something like Glacier, he'll probably opt to use that.
So yeah, he's still scouting.
Oh, Seraph trying to figure out where he went wrong here, having a tough time finding that elevator. A problem that Gene does not have thanks to his value boat. Collars that back up, hits the treasure room. Gonna have to see if there's anything useful. It does pick up a Holy Scroll here.
Very nice find.
And he's gonna drop that C-Seed. Looks like he didn't actually want it. Crack Trap right beside the elevator. A little unfortunate, but he does get through it. Grumpy Palumpa here and a Viper on Seraph's side. This is a bit of a tough one. He has to try and deal with that Viper, but he doesn't want that Palumpa getting anywhere close in the meantime. Gonna go ahead and use a Spell Ball here. He is still gonna take a hit from this. This is not gonna kill him. But he should be okay. He should be able to two-shot it now with the magic. And he does. That was risky. So he stepped in a way that would have let it collar jack. But he got lucky that it did not. And he is going to escape the two Palumpas chasing him. A regular one and a grumpy one.
Yeah, from what I understand, if you escape the floor, even after getting collar jacked, you still get the collar back. But
I'm
someone
gonna
please
need
correct me if
some
I'm wrong.
confirmation on that. I always thought it was that you had to come back to that specific floor to get your collar back, but I could be wrong. Okay, Sand Knight's saying yes, you do get it back. So it's not quite as dangerous as I thought it was, but still not what you want. We did see Gene have to sacrifice his starting familiar there to escape, and we're seeing Seraph run across an invisible stealth, giving him a good whack, but he's going to be okay. I don't believe he ever picked up a restore scroll, so it looks like he's going to be going it alone here. Thankfully, he always knows exactly where the elevator is. Seraph moving up to 24, closing the gap a bit. Should be a little easier for him to start closing the distance since he does still have his familiar and Gene doesn't, but we'll have to wait and see. Gene moves on up to 32. We're going to have to see how he spawns in. An interesting thing about the Beldo floor is that you don't... Oh, another egg here for Gene on floor 32.
Nice. Probably will be just an egg bomb, but yeah, it's still nice to find.
Oh, no, I saw it wrong. It was just a sleeping glacier.
Oh,
Only got a quick pan there, and I thought I saw an egg, but it was a sleeping glacier. Not what he wants to find. Absolutely not what he wants to find. Glaciers, very dangerous enemies. So, glaciers and golems, two of the enemies that you don't want to find because they have very strong long-range attacks that are totally physical based. So there's no way to protect from them other than to not get hit. Seeing Gene move on up to 33 now. Getting very close to tapping out of the tower. 46 minutes on the clock. Spawns in between a golem and a dragon. This is not where he wants to be.
Ouch.
Does not have a holy bell, but he does have a holy scroll. And he never picked up the acid rain ball that Seraph did. So this is going to be a sticky one. He's going to have to do some fancy stuff here. He can blow up the golem immediately. Yeah, he can blow up the golem immediately, but that dragon is a lot tougher to kill.
Yeah. I would say the two options are, yeah, that's one of the options.
Oh, and he gets the dodge. So instead of using the Holy Scroll on himself, he opts to charm the dragon with it, which would have generally cost him a hit from the golem, which could do an enormous amount of damage. But he actually gets the dodge, getting fully rewarded for his choice in action. And now he gets to go ahead and scout the room. Very good play there. Very, very big balls. So we're getting to that point where every floor is much bigger of a difference now because they're so close to timing out. So even if Gene drops pretty much immediately, it's still going to be tough for Seraph to pull this off because of how long it takes to get through a floor. And he's got an 8-floor deficit right now. So even if he was moving at a floor a minute, it's going to be pretty tough. He is hitting some elevators very quickly here, which will help a little bit. But it's going to be tough for him to start pulling it back at this point if Gene doesn't drop very soon.
And he probably saw the elevators, so he won't even need to scout this floor.
So he is still sitting on 2 unidentified eggs. He does have the truth class if he wants to decide that he wants to know what they are. Very unlikely that he'll do that at this point. I think it's more likely... Oh, yeah, so he throws one, and it's a volcano. So it looks like it was not a Garuda egg. Oh, we're going to see that glacier attack its friend. But as I was saying, it's unlikely that he's going to use the truth glass on the egg at this point. It's not really relevant what the egg is because he's not going to have the time to hatch it. So it's much more valuable for him to know how many charges he has left on one of the magic balls as opposed to what the monster is. Because regardless of what's in the egg, it's going to be used for an egg bomb, if anything.
Yeah. Well, I guess for an egg bomb, the only thing you would want to know is that it's not a dream-in.
Yeah. We see the glacier give him a bit of a lift. He says, "Here you go, keep on moving." And Gene's gonna walk away. No problem from this. He does find the elevator. Another set of truth glass here. Bomb trap, getting him very low. He's well within 1 hit range of every single enemy he's gonna run across, so he's gonna have to be very careful here.
He goes up without healing.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice. So he could have chosen to sit and heal there. We saw Snowman on Seraph's side get thrown up by a go-up trap. And he's just going to follow that right on up. Another bad room spawn for Gene here. He is going to go ahead and Egg Bomb again. A Mana Weave, thankfully, with the elemental advantage on that dragon, going to take it out no problem. So he is out of eggs now. Meanwhile, on Seraph's side, an important thing to remember is that all of these bad rooms that Gene is spawning into are rooms that Seraph is going to have to deal with at some point as well. He does still have the Acid Rain Ball for the first one, but the next one after that is going to be significantly harder. Oh, Gene going to go ahead and opt to use the Medicinal Herb here for safety. I think he probably could have built a bunch of HP back up just by waiting on the last floor, but absolutely the right play to play safely here. They are at a point where they can't really afford to play very cavalier and unsafe, because all it takes is, either a bad trap, confuse, or something like a glacier throwing an ice block at them, and they could easily get killed. Still getting value out of that U-boat. What did he hatch at? He hatched at like 13, 14, right? Something around there?
Yeah.
So he's gotten well over 20 floors of value from this friggin' U-boat. Very underrated monster in these runs, it seems. Palumpa Egg Bomb here from Seraph on a killer after he took a monster hit from that killer. So he's one hit. Walking right beside that sleeping snowman. Very scary. He does run across Annapolis. He's very low, so he's going to have to play this slow and safe here. We're going to get to see how crazy tanky this Annapolis is. Fires off a fireball shot, does 60 damage. Shrugs it off, no problem. He's going to have to throw another fire spell at it, because he definitely can't fight it head on. So we're going to have to see. I think he's worried about how many charges he has left on some of these. Oh no, that's it. It's over. So I'm not sure why his familiar didn't cast the mixture magic with him, but he went for the attack and it did not cast, which caused him to do no damage to the Annapolis, who then hit him back and finished him off. So that is race 1 going to Gene. I'll let the runners know if you want to take over.
Yep, sure. Yeah, I didn't quite catch exactly what happened with that Annapolis. Either way, very unfortunate for Seraph. Gene played very well with that U-boat, and that just goes to show how powerful U-boat actually is, and a lot of runners don't know that. But, of course, Gene wouldn't have known whether or not his opponent had been using the U-boat, so for all he knew, he may have still been neck and neck with Seraph. Yeah.
Bit of an unfortunate time for Seraph to fall down. I think Gene, very close to being able to hit 40 here, with a lot of magic that he could use. He has a very strong shot at actually making it, but we're going to have to reset here and keep moving.
Yeah.
I think he might still try and go for it, though. Not really going to rush him.
I guess if he wants to, by all means, it's only 4 floors away, and it'll be interesting to watch.
Oh, he does
just
reset and accept, so.
All right, so.
It looks like he couldn't PB anyway, so it wasn't really important, but yeah, he had a strong shot at making that.
Yeah, so, and the problem with the PB is that the tutorial floor is skipped, so it would be offset, but and it also wouldn't. You also can't submit it to the leaderboard, but at the very least, it could be a personal thing.
So Gene requesting a short break, so we're gonna take a little bit of time here. Everybody can go grab a drink and grab a snack if you like.
Yep.
I too will make use of this break.
So yeah, as Sad Knight points out, Gene is a new member. He started running, I think, about 1 month ago, 2 months ago. But I mean, I watched his match with me a few days ago, and it looks like he's picked up all the tricks in the book. He's played really well. So. Okay, so they're both on the seed screen. I'll take this time to verify them. Certainly they're the same as each other. I'll just check that the seed number matches. $198. Yep. So it looks like chat are discussing the next Azure Dreams game. This topic comes up a lot.
I wish. Wouldn't that be nice? Oh god, the HD for... Yeah, I feel like localization has changed a lot since Azure Dreams came out, where people used to be more leisurely and kind of make the Western version a bit more unique. Things are straying to the point where people kind of want these purist remakes where they don't change anything.
Star Crunch. I have no idea what Star Crunch is.
I also have no idea.
Sounds like it might be an American thing.
Oh yeah, no, okay. If it's I think it's a Debbie cake. If it's a Debbie cake, I totally disagree that it's the best one. I don't even need to try it to disagree. It's all about zebra cakes, son. Don't at me. Oh yeah, it's definitely a Debbie cake. Oatmeal cream pies. There's an interesting choice. Puffed rice with caramel coated in chocolate. Ugh.
Okay, so both of our runners are signaling that they're ready.
Alright.
I guess I'll go ahead and do the countdown, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to get back into it, everybody. Hope you're ready for more exciting action. That was a very good set of races. Both players getting fairly deep in and finding lots of interesting situations. Time to fire the commentators because they don't like Star Crunch. Oof.
In all fairness, I don't know what it is, so I have no opinion either way.
Everybody in chat, post your favorite Debbie cakes.
Okay, so our runners, well, I've given the countdown, and they should be
looks like
off.
they're off. Any little Debbie snack feels like a heart attack after eating one. They're not healthy, but nothing that's tasty is ever very healthy, right?
That's true.
Oh, there we go. Someone in chat repping the zebra cakes with me.
I wonder if Tumblr fruit is tasty.
Are frog legs tasty? I feel like that's one of the high cuisine things that I haven't tried because I was always like, ugh.
They're kind of mediocre. They don't have much taste.
I was not brave enough. My mom was into high-end food, and she would eat like frog's legs and escargot and all that, and I was just like, blah.
The problem is frog's legs is becoming a bit of a tourist thing now, and the frog population is actually suffering from all the people coming to eat frog's legs. So it's not quite as ethical as it might have been once.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. A lot of things are ending up like that these days.
Wow, look at that floor.
That is an interesting first floor. They should be okay because all the trolls are sleeping, and one of the noises are. But boy, what a way to start this seed. Sand Knight must have put some pins in that voodoo doll for this one. That is just about one of the nastiest first floors that you can encounter in this game. I think the only thing that could make it worse would be that it was also a trap room or had a monster den. But I probably shouldn't jinx it for these poor runners.
So Seraph is making liberal use of his fireball. That's absolutely fair enough. Let's see what Gene does about it.
Yeah, I think after the first noise, I probably would have chucked a fireball off as well, just to be safe. Once you get that first level up, it's not so scary.
Yeah.
Sorry there, bit of a cough break. So it looks like both of them are going to make this through safely. Probably already wondering what the rest of this seed is going to look like if the first floor is that bad. But maybe it'll be generous from here. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, easy early levels so far, so they'll have a healthy first couple floors here. Also a Stream 1 pickup, and then a go-up trap for Gene. So go-up traps, generally very beneficial, but in the first 5 floors, they're actually incredibly detrimental. We are seeing both runners opt to use the Stream Wand, so a lot of our runners will generally avoid the Stream Wand because of how cursed items can be. It's a bit dangerous to put on a subpar item early on because you might actually get stuck with it. We do see a wooden wand pick up for Gene, so he'll probably put that on fairly shortly. But yeah, the water Genius wand, unless you're planning to juggle wands, is not super optimal. But it's probably better than the starting sword, so never hurts to have it.
Personally, I probably would have used the Stream Wand.
I mean, I'm a fan of juggling them. I did that a few times in my races. We see Gene chuck one of his wands. I didn't see which one, probably the Stream Wand, just for a little bit of extra damage. Sand Knight saying he prefers the wooden wand. I would also probably have taken the Stream Wand, because I would just also look for a wind wand and juggle that. Yeah, getting stuck with a bad set can be really brutal. Another wand pickup for Gene, another wooden wand. Healthy wand seed again. But yeah, you always run the risk of getting cursed and not being able to find a decurse scroll, and then you're stuck with a bad item for the rest of the game. But everything is a little bit risky, so. Looks like Rhetorical says he did chuck the wooden wand, so it looks like if he's going to pick one of them, it will probably also be the Stream Wand. Hoping to find his value boat again, I'm sure. Absolutely. And that's one of the fun things about these runs, is that even if you get something that you think is subpar, if you can find a creative way to use it, it can really be the difference between winning and losing. And it absolutely got some insane value for him. I'm sure he's very happy with his choice. And the other wooden wand picked up for Seraph here. He does go ahead and equip it, so it looks like he agrees with Sand Knight. He believes that it's a better choice than the Stream Wand. He's allowed to be wrong. And they're going to keep moving on. Leolam fruit picked up here. A little bit useful, especially if they find something like a Brong later on. You can use a Leolam fruit to get a whole bunch more items than you normally would.
Yeah.
But pretty spare set of item floors so far. Lots of wands, but not really anything meaty. Like, they haven't found as much magic as they did last round. Magic generally, probably the most consistently useful thing that you can find, short of finding like a 2-spell ball, is generally what they're going to look for, because everything else you only get one use out of, but things like blinder balls, binding balls, and all that can give you some pretty insane value. Pillar ball again being the first one picked up here for these two runners. They can go ahead.
Has like seed, very nice.
Yeah, they can go ahead and play the Pillar Man theme. For all you JoJo fans out there. So, a little bit of an early lead here for Gene. I don't think it really means anything this early. But Seraph finally moving on up to floor 4 to join him. Gonna do a little bit of high five as they keep exploring. Looks like Seraph does find the elevator for the next floor here, so he'll be able to move up quickly when he finishes up. 0 in 5 is his starting familiar's name. Feeling very confident this run, it seems. At least someone in the chat appreciates my JoJo. So we see Gene be the first one to move on up to floor 5. Seraph does pick up that Pillar Orb, as well as the Hazak Seed. We're going to have to wait and see if he decides to eat it himself, as Gene did, or if he wants to give it to his familiar. Looks like he is going to use it himself. So how you use the stat boost seeds can be fairly good or bad, depending on what happens. You can feed them to your familiar to make him stronger and hopefully last longer and get you a little farther. Or you can use them on yourself and hope for the best. Hazak Seed probably better on your familiar in general because you're not really going to be fighting if you lose him, but don't think it makes a huge difference in the long run regardless. Looks like Speed Gaming 2 is giving us a raid, bringing a whole bunch of people in here. Howdy to everybody who's coming in. Hopefully you'll enjoy this run if you've never seen Azure Dreams before. It is a tower crawler where they have to get all the way to the top of the tower, which is 40 floors long, and it is extremely punishing and difficult. Seeing Gene throw away the other wooden wand and also finally equipping the stream wand, so it looks like he's made his choice and gotten value to those wooden wands regardless.
Yeah.
Starting to get into the Manoivas, so the stream wand will get them some value in these earlier floors before they start getting into the wind type monsters, which come quite a bit later. It'll make killing clowns a little harder than it normally is, but they already have a good enough advantage that it shouldn't be too bad. How do they sync the seeds for this? They will go in and they will choose the same options, and then I believe there's a way to set it to create a link for someone else to also download the same one.
Yeah. Generally, the commentator will pick the link, and the runners will use that link.
Yeah, so we will have someone, many times Sand Knight, who will go in and curse the seeds to bring his fellow runners misery and suffering. And then we will send them out. Programmer has put in a very helpful little thing at the start when you're naming your character where you can actually verify that the seeds are exactly the same to make sure before we start and waste any time.
Well, I guess Jowser might have been asking how we're even de-randomizing in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Programmer, one of our gamers in our channel, has created a de-randomizer which modifies the game and basically ensures that both runners are going to face all the same things, the same item spawns, the same enemy spawns, and the same actions as long as they choose to take the same actions. So yeah.
Yeah, we saw a flame ball pickup for these two, so another another pillar and then flame ball set like they got in the last round. So looking very similar to the last one already, other than the fact that they haven't found a Scarlet Wand. So it will be a little bit tougher for them to try and fight their way through. But they are building a pretty decent set of items, so they should be able to get relatively far already with what they have.
And Seraph hits a warp trap, one of the worst traps you can face, especially early on. So let's see how he handles this.
Yeah, so one of the things that a lot of people who are playing this game don't realize is that before you move, after getting hit by a warp trap, you can still set your familiar's AI. So you can tell him to stand still and fight, which will lower his chance of running across a monster and give you some time to either find him or find the elevator. We are going to see him move straight on up. He does get his familiar back, but it's very possible that your familiar gets ambushed while he's warped away, and then you lose him early on, which is why everybody hates the warp trap. Luckily, he did make it through, and we're seeing Gene move all the way up to the 7th floor already, finding the 6th floor elevator very quickly, so he's saying, I got to lead the last game, I want to get another lead this game and keep it, and we're going to have to see if it pays off for him again. Frog trap for Seraph. He is not having any luck with these traps. I think that's the second frog trap he's hit, and also that warp trap, so he's having a bit of a tough time.
In the wrong situation, frog trap can be one of the worst traps, possibly even worse than warp trap, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of really nasty traps in this game. A couple that we've already seen. There's also the monster den trap, which, unlike a normal trap, will not even reveal itself once you step on it. It just happens, and it fills up your room with monsters that will then try and very quickly murder you. So if you don't have something like a Holy Bell or an Acid Rain Ball, it can absolutely just end you at any time. So it's good to remember that the tower gives, the tower takes away, and at any time the tower can absolutely just decide that one person loses and that's it. Scarlet Wand pickup by Gene here on floor 7, so Seraph has to hope that he takes the time to explore his floor. If he moves on up quickly, that is a big item to miss out on. much like that U-boat. And it oh no, he did pick it up earlier. Okay, I didn't see. So it looks like they both did pick up the Scarlet Wand. So it's not going to be a situation like the first one where Gene hatches the egg and Seraph doesn't, and it ends up paying off for him. Yeah, everybody should remember that the tower hates everyone and everything all the time. That is absolutely true. The tower will do horrible, horrible things to you. Sand Knight will absolutely tell you his story where he got slept for 52 turns, which is an absolutely insane thing to think about. So, the wonders of RNG. Dead end room here for Seraph. That's always frustrating. Most rooms will generally be connected to another section, so you can kind of keep moving in a circle. But dead end rooms means you have to double all the way back. That's never fun. Stream Wand found again for Gene, but again, we're in that point where they have the Scarlet Wand. All they really want now is just to find a good shield if they can, but realistically, they've got a decent set of items, and they're starting to hit the point where the shields aren't going to be super consequential, so they'll be okay. Yeah, 52. It was pretty unreal. It is not something you would ever think would happen, but we've seen all kinds of crazy stuff like that in the tower where people get stunned or slept or what have you for just a gazillion turns. How long do these runs usually last? There is a timer. They generally will go anywhere from about half an hour to an hour on any kind of a decent run, as long as one of the people doesn't get absolutely butchered by the tower very early on. And there's a 1 hour limit on each of these. If you're doing like a full run on your own, it can take quite a while. It just depends. If you're doing a speed run, the speed run generally is about an hour to an hour, depending on how safe you take it. If you're playing the game normally, getting to floor 40 can take quite a while, depending on how good you are and how fast you learn.
Yeah, once you've learned all the tricks and you get some practice in, getting sub 1 hour would be a good milestone.
Yeah, there's a lot of fairly non-complex tricks that you can learn from watching these runners that will pretty much make you consistent enough that you can fairly easily get to the top within, I would say 2 to 5 runs.
And yeah, so Sandlight points out the world record is 34 minutes, 7 seconds, and I think it was only a couple of weeks ago by Baldwin.
Yep,
yes.
That is an insane record. It is more than a floor a minute. It is totally bonkers, and it's going to be a tough one to beat. And whoever has it at this point, with the time that low, it's all just luck. You can play really well, but people need to get extremely lucky at this point to beat it, short of some kind of crazy exploit being found.
The previous No Garuda record had been 39 minutes held by Didasis, and that stood for 4 years, unchallenged until now.
Yeah, so you essentially have to find a Garuda egg early on, and then you have to hit the right room again and again and again all the way up to 40. It's a pretty gnarly run.
But the thing is, I'm just checking now, but Baldwin's run didn't even use the Garuda.
Really? Okay, so yeah. I mean, if you find like, I think the earliest you can find a Garuda is like what, 12 or 13, something in that range.
11 to something, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if you find a Garuda on floor 11 and then you just warp right onto the elevator over and over again, you could probably get something stupid like 20 to 25.
That would probably be the god run. It's 11 to 20. Yeah. The earlier the better, of course.
Yeah. And that's assuming no, like, insane, warp onto a trap or something like that. That just ends your god run, so...
I've only ever gotten a Garuda like 3 times, and I think every time I got warped next to some monster and got killed or something.
Yeah, it's a crazy time to beat, and God bless whoever does it. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's another one that lasts, years, given the nature of this game.
Yeah.
So, both of our runners getting into the 10s now. Got a little sidetracked, but they've both been kind of plugging it away pretty safely. they're about to hit floor 12, so we'll have to see if they decide to make the time to go get that blue collar again. Seraph getting a little bit low here. He's going to have to play safe. Still has medicinal herb, so he should be okay, but this familiar is also going to get a little bit low. Might opt to use a magic ball here just to be safe, but we'll have to wait and see. Looks like he's still trying to decide how he wants to do this. Part of what makes this game interesting is that it is a little bit of a puzzle game. You kind of get yourself into these situations. You have to try and figure out what you believe is the best way to deal with it. Looks like he does decide to use the pillar ball. Just going to go ahead and finish that guy off. Big
Gene
treasure
comes across
room
an item
here.
room, yeah.
Yeah, big treasure room here for Gene. He does get cut off by a griffin here. He was hoping that it would go the other way. He backed off to try and let it avoid him, since monsters, unless you're in the room with them, will only see you from 2 tiles away.
So he's going to use the water ball trick. That's nice.
Yeah, so they you can kind of manipulate them to go the other way. It didn't go his way, and he has to fight now. So he's going to make use of the water ball to increase his starting familiar's defense against fire monsters by an insane amount. So he should have no problem dealing with this griffin, which normally would be a very dangerous monster to fight because of how much damage it does. Seraph once again getting very, very low. Opts to use the medicinal herb this time, and now we get to see what Gene is going to get from all of these items. He does have an enormous amount of items already, so he's going to have to start juggling some of this, and it's going to take him a little bit of time.
Blinder ball, very nice.
Yeah, already off to a good start. Even if that's the only good item, it's already a good pickup here. Another blinder ball with a repel ball. So the repel ball is useless, light seed is useless. But the 2 blinder balls are definitely worth it, even just on their own.
Very good. So he chooses to give them his acid to Kuhn to up his magic level. That's what most runners usually do. You can also give it to yourself. Yeah, so we see Seraph powering up his shield. Looks like they picked up a steel shield along the way. Seraph and a white sand.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so very good room for Gene.
Yeah, incredibly good room here. Gives him a lot of options in the future. Blind, a conventionally strange ball, but if you can hit a monster with blind, unlike you, who can remember where things are, the monster will not remember where you are, and will just keep moving along the way, allowing you to pretty safely take care of dangerous situations. He has 2 of them now. Even if both of them have low charges, that's still a lot of blinds that he gets.
Yeah, it's a guaranteed 9 charges across the both of them now with that white sense.
Yeah. It looks like both runners are going to end up getting the blue collar because it does spawn in the room on the 12th floor for them, making it very easy. Seraph also running across... Oh, taking a big spell cast from this griffin. Going to take a lot of damage here, but he did find the treasure room, so it looks like he will benefit as well. He does have some items in his inventory there that look like they would be easy drops, like the wooden wand, so he shouldn't have a hard time juggling it. He does go ahead and throw a pillar right back at that griffin, and he's going to use a second charge just to be extra safe here, probably feeling a little bit of the pressure of having lost the last race. Yeah, we've seen 2 troll swords so far, relatively rare item that's now popped up twice. Will never ever be useful in one of these runs, but it's interesting to run across. We also saw Sand Knight in the chat bring up the 2nd tower. Oh, Diamond Shield here picked up for Gene, and it is cursed. So
I guess he went around too much.
Yeah, Seraph blue sanded his steel shield, so it is actually the same defense as Gene's diamond shield, but because it's cursed, I believe there is a little bit of a debuff to it as well.
There's one niche use of the troll sword, and that's if a bowgun troll is harassing you from afar, you can chuck a troll sword at it and swap out his weapon.
Yeah. Sand Knight did bring up the 2nd tower, so if you really love this game, but you've run out of things to do, I believe Programmer is also the one who managed to unlock this 2nd tower for play, if you want a new and fun experience. Egg Bomb here on this Kraken for Gene, so he's using his egg relatively early, but Krakens are nothing you want to mess with, so not too bad. Trying to decide if he's going to waste the speed of fruit or try and juggle something. 3 troll swords, yeah. And he made use of it by throwing it, so there you go. Looks like Seraph's unfortunately hit a trap. He does clear out that room. Oh, there's actually 2 in the same room here. Holy cow. There's a lot of troll swords. Gene moving on up to floor 14 now, building a little bit of a lead. And expanding it just a tad. He does find a decurse scroll immediately. So he goes ahead and decurses his diamond shield, so now it's just still a 6 defense shield, which is very good for these floors. Any little bit helps. Seraph finally moving on from that treasure room, having gotten everything that he wanted out of it. And we're seeing the runners take their time fighting things along the way. They're not too worried with the Scarlet Wand, so they have the luxury of taking fights and keeping their level relatively healthy. Goes ahead and blinds this Kraken and decides he's going to finish it off too. So this is another interesting thing, is that while they're blind, unless you're standing directly in front of them, they will not fight back.
Yeah.
So making use of that to kill a monster that he wouldn't normally try and kill. As well as beating up this sleeping Gerudo, so he's getting a lot of nice free experience here as he comes up into the mid-teens. Exit loops, and it was 1 room away. Unfortunate. He does check the herb, just a Hazak herb, nothing useful. Doesn't bother feeding it to his familiar, just wants to keep moving. And we see Seraph finally heading on up to 12, where he will also pick up the blue collar. So Gene moving pretty quickly here. Seraph stuck with 2 Dreamants that he needs to fight. Does decide to give his familiar the herb, building up his MP a little as he keeps moving. He did pick up the blue collar, did not skip it. Does hit a slam trap, unfortunately.
So yeah, to answer Stella's question, there are 40 floors in the tower. The final floor is a boss. I say boss in inverted commas. And yeah, you can actually get right to the top of the tower in your first run and win the game, and that's that. Though most casual players would not succeed in doing that, and they would probably take several runs to actually make it to the top of the tower, gaining more experience and equipment each time.
Yeah, the amount of experience that your familiar and yourself need to level up goes up very, very quickly compared to how fast the enemies in the tower level up. So the difficulty rises exponentially, and that's before you even consider the fact that there's no guarantee that you're going to get good items. There's no guarantee that you're going to not get brutalized by traps. So, you know, for your first time, when you're going into the tower, generally, it's very, very difficult. The game doesn't even give you the item or tell you what item you need to exit the tower. So it can be extremely difficult at the very start if you don't have someone telling you how to play. Seeing a lot of balls here used by Gene. He used a poison ball on a Newell. He's now using a blinder one. He does take a hit because he was standing in front of it, but he's just going to move on past, I believe. And
Did you say he used a poison ball on the Newell?
Yeah, he used one on the one before this one. He had run into 2 of them. So he poisoned one and finished it off, and then for that one...
I thought Newells were immune to poison, aren't they?
I am not sure. I
think
looked
that's
away after he used it. I saw him using it, I just didn't see what happened after.
Yeah,
apparently they are poison immune, so maybe he was like me and he didn't know that. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's one of those things, even if you know it, you kind of forget it until the last minute because it's such a niche thing. Yeah,
there's a lot of strange little abilities that some of these monsters have that you just don't remember on any given run. Rough spawn in there on the 16th floor, but luckily right beside the elevator, so he just picks up the troll and keeps moving. Seraph on the 13th floor now, closing the gap a little bit here. Hopefully he can continue finding the elevators to keep it
so 2
tight.
pickets in this room.
Yeah, so 2 pickets and an easy troll, so he's just going to let his familiar take care of that. He's going to lose a little bit of time there from that, but better to play it safe than to lose something big. I don't believe they have any Neither of them has picked up an egg so far, so they don't really have anything super critical, other than the magic balls. It looks like Seraph did also pick up the diamond shield as well as the decurse scroll, so he's going to go ahead and decurse as well. Oh yeah, apparently having a stealth saves you and your trolls from rust traps.
Yeah, if you ever happen to be walking around with a stealth and a troll out.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't generally see a lot of these runners use 2 monsters at the same time, but that is an option that they have once they have the blue collar.
Well, I guess you can't fuse a stealth with a troll. I guess, I don't know if that would transfer the rust proof.
I think it
Maybe
would, because troll doesn't
might
have
be.
anything inherent, so it should give it that ability.
Yeah.
We did see Seraph opt not to take the 14th floor elevator. Wanted to take a quick peek in that other room, but he is going to keep moving, I think. Wind crystal for Gene, not what he's looking for. He wanted a water crystal. Does not find it, unfortunately. Tough room on the 15th, but he's going to... Okay!
Yikes.
That is not the direction that he wanted to go in. Running into 3 Newels. He's trying to figure out how he wants to deal with this horrible situation. He could keep moving backwards, but he does know that the room that he just came in has some monsters in it that were sleeping. If they wake up, he can get pinched here really, really bad. Yeah, some Newels escaped from the racetrack, and they're out for a vengeance. So he has 4 Newels chasing him now. 1 is confused, so it's going to be not too problematic, nice. But...
2 of them are distracted, yeah.
Okay, there we go. So he's cut down his monster train a little bit, but those are some angry Newels, man. Oh, and he does get pinched by a 3rd. Looks like one of them called their posse. So he is going to have to deal with at least one of these. He should be able to just blind it and keep moving, but his familiar will take a hit here. He is going to try and kill it. I don't think that's going to kill it, though. That may not be the right choice. Yeah.
Take 2 hits.
Yeah,
now blind was probably the optimal choice, but yeah.
Yeah, now he's stuck because if he fires another pillar to finish it off, or even tries to blind it, he will lose his familiar here. I think the best choice at this point, yeah, is to do some fancy movement, pick up your familiar, and then just eat the hit. Oh, and the pillar ball is empty, so it was a minimum charge pillar ball. Really, really unfortunate. Now he's definitely in a bad spot. I think the only good play here at this point,
I think.
well, he could still pick up his familiar and make a run for it to try and minimize what's happening.
Could take 2 hits or use Holy Scroll.
Oh, so he's sacrificing his familiar with the Holy Scroll. But he's still stuck here. I don't think that was the best choice.
He could just smash the Newell to the north, and he should be able to kill it before the Holy Scroll runs out. Or use flame ball.
Yeah. He does not have a restore scroll, so he has no way to bring his familiar back. He can just toss that pillar ball. Looks like he's going to try and kill all 3 of them.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because if he keeps going, then he could get pincered again.
Yeah, this is a lot of resources used, though. He's gonna have to use the ball. He was right the first time.
Yeah.
He doesn't have enough damage to kill it without it healing itself. Okay. Well, makes me alive.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, you were right, but Newell is kind of random. Sometimes he just heals over and over again, and sometimes he doesn't, so...
Yeah, there was the other one that he had run from before. Gonna flame ball and then take the 2 hits. He did keep his sword, allowing him to fight.
Ooh, nasty floor for Gene.
Yeah, that is not a good floor. So both of them in some pretty tight situations right now. He does have to... That flame ball is probably either empty or very close to it at this point. He does use the Exa loop all the way across the entire area. This is not a good floor for Seraph.
Okay.
And he's gonna take...
Okay, that was lucky.
Oh no, he still lost his familiar.
Oh yeah, I mean, lucky in the sense that he didn't get hit himself.
Yeah. So both runners really suffering right now. Gene at least has the upper hand a bit because he does have the first to 20 right now. Confusion on the Newell, and he does still hit him and then heal itself. So Seraph's still struggling to kill all these Newells. He also is going to have to be careful here. He doesn't want to run through that Chaos Trap. And Gene going to move on to 21. So both of them running without their familiar now. And Seraph is definitely getting quite low on resources. Still has those blinder balls, which will be very, very helpful. But most of his fire magic is probably either done or very close to it. Yeah, Seraph isn't struggling. He's committing genocide on the Mules. Absolutely. Go up trap for GeneFreak. If you've never seen this game before, Watahu, you're in luck. This is a very, very fun game. You're only actually seeing a small portion of it. I'm sure everybody here would very highly recommend that you sit down and play it. Outside of the tower aspect and the monsters and such, there's still a town building and dating sim aspect, and it is very unique and very fun. There's a reason that so many people still love it and care about it this many years later. It's a
I'll go ahead and post the link for the Discord. There we go.
Yeah, dating sim speedrun. Absolutely. If you want to see that, you should take a look at the bookless percent. And you'll get to see some of our runners deal with seducing women as fast as possible.
Yes.
So Seraph spawning into that problem room with the pickets earlier, but he doesn't have his familiar to deal with at this time. So struggling a bit. He did blind the picket. The picket actually killed the troll because the troll is still level 1 or 2, something like that. He does get chased down by pickets. So picket's not normally threatening, but when you don't have if you get stuck in a situation like you did with the Mules where you just get a whole bunch of them, they will bleed you dry. Gene on the 23rd floor now, using his magic ball to deal with a block. Trying to play it safe as he knows that he's on borrowed time. Even with the decent base of magic and items, it all runs out eventually if you have to use it every time. And yeah, death by paper cuts is what happens with pickets. We've seen it before where a runner got swarmed by like 3 or 4 pickets, and they just double hit you every turn as you're trying to get away, and you get smoked by 1 damage again and again. We're seeing Seraph make good use of his blind balls, but he's blowing charges left and right, so he's going to run out very quickly at this rate. But he doesn't really have much of a choice. One of the options that they do have for a lot of these monsters, he's avoided 2 steals right now though, so that's fairly lucky. But one of the things that our runners can do in situations with these smaller monsters is just third dodge from a steal. Seraph says, I want to keep my stuff. But one of the ways that they can kind of deal with some of these smaller monsters is just to go for a pickup, which has something like a 50-50 chance to work, and then they can toss the monster away and keep moving.
It has a 62.5% chance of pickup.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, swipe or no swiping. He says, this is my stuff. Gonna take some time here to kill a picket that's sleeping for the experience, but the picket wakes up, tries to steal, fails, and says, I'm out of here. So, a little bit of time wasted because he did not get the experience that he was looking for there. Meanwhile, unfortunately, Gene running across a unicorn, which is not blindable, so he has to use one of his fire magic charges to get rid of it. Seraph finally getting robbed. He did use a trap loop, and sees it go up trap, but the elevator was also in there, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. Seraph spawning into the really, really bad room that we saw earlier. Gonna take a hit from that Arachne. Has 2 steal dodges immediately. Very, very lucky. Seraph is the king of holding on to his items, apparently.
Was that the same room that Gene had the wee dog in? The same.
I don't believe so. I'm pretty sure it was the same, but there we go. So another instance of someone forgetting about a monster's innate skill. Seraph tried to blind a unicorn, and it tried to blind him back, and neither of them got blinded. We see Gene using a Tumnah fruit to get rid of a viper, just picks it up and tosses it away. Hits a slam trap. Oleum fruit pickup for Seraph, very, very useful. He might opt to use it, or keep running with his new unicorn friend. Yeah, that dodge rate. I'm not sure what the steal percent chance is, but it's generally pretty high. And he dodged like 5 or 6 of them in a row, so he's doing really well. Gene moving on to 25 now. At this point, if he does find a Barong on 26, I have to imagine that he will make use of it. A lot of these rooms are fairly, while they wouldn't normally be super tough, are pretty difficult because nobody has a familiar here. Gene playing safe, going to use his Pillar Ball. As we know, that Pillar Ball has very low charges, so he might be out and he might not know. Does run across the picket.
Don't want to risk a zoo getting any hit on you, because if they paralyze you, that's it, game over.
Yeah, even though zoos are generally pretty weak, the levels for these runners are pretty... Well, actually, Gene's level is actually quite high, surprisingly, but it still only takes about 2 to 3 hits to kill. So if you assume that the zoo stuns you on turn 1, it only takes 2 or 3 turns for you to die from that. A little bit of a treasure room here for Gene on top of the elevator. Looks like he's probably not going to stay and look for the Barong because the elevator is right there. But yeah, just opts to check some of the items and then moves right on. Still maintaining a healthy lead. And at this point, it's going to probably start to wind down very quickly for both of these runners, I think. Their item base is getting pretty low, and all it's going to take is one bad trap or one bad situation for either of them, and it's going to end. We did see Gene got a look at an egg on the 28th floor, and that is a big pickup here, but he is blocked off by a Napless and a Mandara. He's going to go ahead and use the fire.
It'll take a while for it to destroy the Napless.
You know, as we mentioned earlier, Naplesses have over 100 HP, so it takes about 6 hits for that thing to kill it. And he still has to deal with the Mandara. That Mandara wants him. It's chasing him down. Salamander, very useful, but also very problematic because it doesn't do a lot of damage to the water-type monster, so it's going to a bunch of hits for it, and it still has to close the distance. So he's going to go ahead and use a Malicious Scroll just for safety, and it does finish it off. He is going to go over and get that egg. We're going to have to see if he tries to hatch it. I have to imagine that he might actually go for the hatch here.
To answer Circa is Bad's question, the fruit icons at the bottom of the screen are how many wins each of our players has attained so far. Gene has 1 win.
Yeah, Gene won our first race, so it is a best of 3. We saw him run across a snowman, so he's going to go in the other direction. And he hits a monster den.
Oh.
This is probably it for Gene. I think his run is going to come to an end. He doesn't have an Asterine Ball. I don't believe he has a Holy Bell. And I'm pretty sure there is no way out of this. He is pretty much 100% dead here. Let's see, what does he have? He has a Holy Scroll.
Holy Scroll is really the only thing that might give him a chance.
He has 2 Holy Scrolls. He can use one on himself and one to charm a monster. And then if he's very lucky, he can Egg Bomb one of the leftmost monsters and make a run for it. So he could actually come out of this if he plays this 100% right and gets a little bit lucky.
Ooh.
Oh, and he decides to charm something else. He doesn't even try and use it himself, and that is it. So Gene is down. Did you see the floor number that he was on? It was 30 or 20 some, 28? I want to say.
Didn't catch it. No, I didn't catch it.
20. Yeah, I was right. It's 28. So we'll go ahead.
28. Okay. Well, we won't post anything. We'll just wait.
Yeah, we're not going to let Seraph know that he can win in 4 floors, but this might actually just be going to a game 3. As we talked about, you know, sometimes the tower just takes you out, and there was only one very small line of play that could have worked to save him there with his items. And it still wasn't a guarantee. And yeah, Seraph has to beat the floor count. Gene died on 28, so he has to beat that floor by 1. So he has to get to 29. He's on 25 now. He only has 4 floors to go. But the scary thing is that Seraph doesn't know that floor 28 has a really nasty monster den waiting for him. So not only that, but the monster den was actually right beside the egg. So if Seraph has the same camera pan and sees the egg and makes the same choice to go for that egg, it's very possible he dies in exactly the same spot to that monster den. So it's going to be really interesting to see it play out. I really want to see him get to 4, but we'll have to see what the tower wants. He is going to go right up to 27. He's going to get that fire crystal as well. No, he doesn't even bother checking.
Yeah.
So
it might just come down to how Seraph handles that monster den. If he even hits the monster den, he might walk on a different tile.
I mean, he could absolutely choose not to go for that egg. I mean, he's probably going to see it, but there's no guarantee that he makes the choice to go chase that egg down. He is going to make it to floor 28, so it's pretty much just a matter of whether he goes for that egg or he keeps moving.
It's very rare not to go for an egg, though.
Yeah, but I mean, he does... Here's the thing, is that the egg is behind 2 very strong monsters. He didn't pick up the fire crystal, so he doesn't even have the benefit of using the item that Gene did to try and get through it. It's also not shocking that he didn't try and pick it up. 2 out of the 3 of the crystals that it could have been were useless. So,
So Uret user, in the case of a floor tie, whoever reached floor first on their timer is the winner.
It looks like he's going to try and kill the Snapless while it's a frog. I don't think this is... if it was another... Oh, and it does just... Oh, here we go. Cool. And he just goes right back out. So nice. He does manage to avoid the monster den. It's very likely that he is going to take this. Ooh. Paralysis trap here. Let's hope it's not 52 turns. Does recover. He's probably going to take this warp trap. I absolutely would. You have no, there's no downside to trying it for the most part.
There's one downside. You could warp next to a monster if you weren't
already.
You could
warp onto that monster den too, but in all likelihood, it's probably going to put you in a better situation. Running across some sleeping monsters, so he does have most of the floor explored at this point. He's probably not going to loop back through that monster den floor. It's a pretty safe assumption that he's going to take the race at this point. As long as he still has some blinder ball charges, he should be okay. Yeah, I think he might still have a Holy Scroll as well. Going back towards his first room, but he's going to avoid that. There's an Applet on the other direction. This is a bit tough, actually. He's got Appleses on both sides. He could still actually lose here. If he gets pinched. He sees the Naples going the other way. He's following it. I would have gone the other direction. Oh, and it wakes up. And he does see the elevator. So he is going to have to run across Annapolis, but he knows where the elevator is now. This is going to be tough, because you're going to run across that other one that just kept going.
Okay, this might be an opening here. Oh, no.
No. They're not going to make it easy. Oh, this is...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's actually probably not going to make it.
All right.
Man, to get so close. What does he have? So he still has an egg that he can bomb with. He can blind here. He still has to deal with those Naplises. He can take a couple turns here to let those Naplises keep moving, as long as they don't move towards him.
Yeah.
To try
he probably has enough blinded charges to handle everything here.
But he's running out of time. He can't stay in that square because he's got 2 Naplises. Oh, yeah. If he doesn't have a Holy Scroll, he's dead. Oh, he does. Yeah. So he has the Holy Scroll and the Olim. He should be okay here. He knows where the elevator is. This should be the end of the race. So all he has to do is clear out these Naplises. Fireball has no charges. Holy Scrolls last an extremely long-ass time. So he will have... Olim. Yeah, he's going to Olim, and he can actually keep moving. They can't walk, so he doesn't have to worry about taking a hit. He can just keep moving, except that there's a monster train, and just hope he doesn't get pinched again. And it looks like he should safely make 29, which means that he is going to win this race. So it is 1-1 now. We're going to go ahead and let...
He zips on to 30.
Yeah, literally one step off from hitting that monster den. If he had decided to go the other way, he was dead. He is very, very, very lucky.
Yeah, the de-randomizer has really changed the face of these tournament matches. It's really been a blessing.
So I'm going to let our runners. So we're just getting set up and making sure the seats there are okay, and then we'll get right back into it.
Of the the seed that you're playing on. Very nice touch and good for posterity. So yeah, it ends in 750. I'm just checking that against my seed. That looks to be correct. 750. Okay, we'll just wait for Seraph to do the same. So now I can just check it against Gene's, and
Looks good.
Yep, looks right.
So we'll let the runners know.
Right. So another feature of the de-randomizer, at least one option that we have checked, is to skip the intro. So it should be arriving quite quickly at the outside of their house, ready to start the run. For those that don't know, there's more of an intro. There's like some cutscenes and something about your father giving you advice and then disappearing into the tower.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil too much. I know there's a couple of you, at least, that seemed a little bit interested. I highly recommend that you guys go and give it a playthrough, experience the story for yourself. It may be a little sparse, but there's plenty there to have fun with.
Absolutely, it's a great game to play casually.
So, we should be getting ready soon. We've let them know that they're good, so they should be setting up. And we'll get right back into it very quickly for a hopefully equally exciting Game 3. I think it's going to be really hard to top that one step from Monster Den finale, but you never actually know. We could see something even crazier.
Yuki, yeah, you can absolutely draw similarities with Pokemon. I think both games came around at the same time. Alright, so Seraph is outside the house, just waiting on Gene.
Getting his name game on for good luck and good posterity.
Gene has been lagging, yes. It's not been too much. It's manageable, but yeah. Actually, I don't know if we ever let him know.
I'm not really sure there's much you can do about it. If he's lagging,
Yeah.
it's very likely his net, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do about that.
Yeah, so far it hasn't caused a problem, so we just let it.
So it looks like they're both in position. If you want to go ahead and give them the countdown, we'll get started. Brinsley says, I haven't had this game in years. Need to refresh my memory. Well, I think it absolutely is time you go back and explore it again. And yeah, people generally call them mystery dungeons now. Mystery dungeons can be different though, because it depends on how much they let you save. But yeah, it's definitely a roguelite. Not fully roguelike, since there is some consistency, as well as the town building elements and the dating sim elements. There's a lot of meat to this game. So it looks like they're off. The countdown is done and they are getting started. Jumping immediately right back into it. And yeah, there's a lot to this game. There's plenty of mini games inside the town building aspect as well. They managed to really jam-pack a lot of fun stuff in this game, and if you're playing it on a casual playthrough, you can get a lot of really fun hours out of it. I know that when I was a kid and I first had it, I must have sunk like a good 200 hours into this game or more easily on the first time I played it, so that's just to give you
a lot
an
of
idea.
replayability, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when you're a dumb kid and you don't know a lot of the tricks that make this game easier, it can be really, really tough to climb, but it's definitely worth playing if you haven't ever given it a shot before. And yeah, the races are super fun to watch. It's really cool seeing how each of the runners adapt and play. There's a lot of really exciting people playing. One of the people that I was casting the other day in the race was so crazy aggressive and risky that it was just a treat. These two players both seem to be a lot more on the conservative side, playing a lot safer. So a totally different style, and that's just part of the fun, is that you can really do your own thing and play exactly how you want. And this game will sometimes reward you for it.
Looks like Gene's lag has increased quite a bit.
So if it keeps going much longer, I think I might ping him and see if there's anything you can do, but more than likely we're just gonna have to tough it out. It did seem to clear up a bit around the mid part of the last race, so hopefully it'll get a little lighter again. He is a bit of a freeze frame show right now, though. And yeah, if you're enjoying it, absolutely give the casters or give the racers a follow on Twitch. I'm sure they'd all appreciate it. I would appreciate it. You can just type our names into the Twitch bar and they should pop up, and you can have some fun watching or joining. I'll drop another link to the Discord if you guys ever want to join in with us. There's plenty of fun to be had inside as well. If you want to check out the Azure memes channel, there's some fun stuff. And all of our runners and community members are pretty active. The Discord is surprisingly active for a game this old. It has a lot of love and a lot of good people who appreciate it. So I think I will give Gene a bit of a ping and let him know that his internet is pretty rough, because we're not really getting a whole lot. It's tough to cast when I'm getting a slideshow, but I assume he's still just scouring for items right now. Haven't really found anything so far, but let me go ahead and ping him and see if there's anything he can do.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, Seraph, I didn't see if he really picked up anything interesting. He's still on a sword and shield, presumably the original ones.
Yeah, so, instead of getting frames per second, we're getting frames per minute. We're just getting the highlight reel. Hopefully we'll actually get the highlights. You never know. Maybe we'll see him do something really exciting and be like, man, that would have been so cool. Okay, so it looks like he's trying to set some things aside to see if it clears up, so we'll give it a second and see if it does. Meanwhile, focus on Seraph, who's looking for some items. It looks like they haven't really found anything of substance yet. Seraph absolutely never checking these crystals. Doesn't appear to care very much about finding a water crystal or a fire crystal. I know a lot of people are always seeking out water crystals. Woo! This is bad.
Ooh. Yeah, he can't take one more hit.
Yeah, so he's going to go ahead and play it safe with the Medicinal Herb. He's still going to take a lot of damage again. Luckily, his Familiar moving up to try and tank a bit. But yeah, fighting 2 flames and 1 on the high ground. Very tough situation, but he manages to get through it. Still going to take a bunch more here. It looks like he's going to opt to use the Fire Orb here to try and mitigate some of this damage. I don't think that's a bad plan.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, if he had gotten to fight on the high ground, I would have said, you know, maybe chance it, but with that flame on the high ground and him already having had to burn an item, I don't think it was bad to just throw that orb out.
Gene is also encountering 2 flames. It looks like... Is that the same place?
Very close, it might be. I think they wiggled the camera around a bit, so it looks like he also was forced to use a Medicinal Herb there. So both runners running across some tough stuff with the monster density. Just letting Gene know that his internet is still a bit rough. Is it useful to carry an egg into the dungeon? No. Depends. Casually, generally, if you're playing the game casually, you don't ever want to hatch an egg inside the tower because you don't get to keep the monster. If you hatch it inside the tower, normally you have to hatch it at your home to be able to keep it. In a speedrun setting, you almost always just use it as either an egg bomb or hatch it immediately because it will hatch near your level, and then you can use it to keep going if you have to.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like it might be a problem with how Speed Gaming grabs the streams, because it looks like the...
Oh, really?
Yeah, Baldwin is saying that his stream is okay. Yeah. So, unfortunately...
Something I should have checked, yeah.
Alright, let me double check with our Speed Gaming person, see if there's anything he can do.
Okay. So, yeah, again, Seraph ignores the crystal. I guess he knows that there's a high chance it's always going to be a wind crystal and isn't bothered to check. That's fine. I'm not sure what the stats are on that.
Yeah, it looks like several people are confirming that Gene's stream is okay, so it looks like whatever he did has fixed his side of things, but it looks like there's just an issue with the Speed Gaming side of it, so I'm going to look into it and see if we can do anything about it.
Sure, yeah. Toa 47, I guess, as commentators we are acting referees as well.
Yeah, there's only so much we can do, just as in, like, anything like, you know, the Link to the Past randomizer, there's a bit of an honor system that you hope that the players aren't watching our stream or the enemy stream so that they don't get any extra advantages, but for the most part, for, like, where they die and such, that's taken care of by us. And we try and keep them honest. I think most of the community members aren't really the type of people that would ever do something like that, so... And I mean, some of it...
More likely, it could be someone who just didn't know that there was a rule against it, if they were to ever do it. Yeah. And that's absolutely feasible.
I mean, it's the kind of thing where it would probably be pretty obvious. You know, if one player takes the time to explore a floor and find the elevator, but they move past it, find an item, and then go back to the elevator, if the other player does the same thing, you know that it was probably not honest. Because of the nature of how random everything is and how they just kind of want to move up very quickly, so... It doesn't seem like something that would be a big thing. And plus, it's like, even if they do, it's not a huge benefit in general. The game is so difficult and so punishing that regardless, like, unless it's something like a Garuda egg, it's not going to change the game so much that it's worth cheating over. So we're seeing, at least from what we can, that both runners are on floor 4 and running fairly safely. There's a go-up trap for Seraph. Looks like he's going to take that instead of the elevator. Still no big items found. They're still looking for wands, still looking for some good magic orbs.
Yeah,
and
seems pretty tame so far, nothing big.
Yeah, so these kind of seeds where you don't really find early items can be quite short. If they don't find the stuff they need to kind of weather the storm. As we talked about, the game ramps up difficulty so quickly that you really need some of the items that these players look for to be able to handle it, because eventually you just hit a point where you can't fight, and if you get, you know, stuck like our runners in the last race and get pinched, there's just nothing you're gonna... Ooh, loading screen! Oh, looks like he's just moving up. I got nervous there. I was like, oh man, did he take it down? See it? Every loading screen will be exciting. Yeah, the community probably wouldn't take it well. And yeah, I think people are going to be reevaluating the U-boats after that last run, with so much value coming out of it. Very, very fun to see. And that was just, again, you know, he took the risk and he said, I'm going to make the most out of this egg. He didn't even know what it was. He just knew that it could be something good, and he got absolutely rewarded for it. There's a lot of people who play so much more, you know, quick or safe that they would never have tried to hatch the egg, but we got to see something special and fun. And we can all appreciate that Gene is the master of U-boat value, apparently. Seraph getting a little bit low from a lot of fights here. He's going to have to play a little bit safe. Down to 1 hit. Does go ahead and use his second medicinal herb. So good for him. I've had a little bit too much secondhand anxiety lately from people attacking monsters with not enough HP to survive the hit.
Yeah. So Cyclone used their very rare ability, which is Anorexia attack. Seemed to have failed though. Anorexia makes your familiar unable to consume herbs and fruits. It's a very strange one, and you don't see it very often.
Yeah, interestingly, it's not at all useful as a, you know, a player familiar, but for the enemy, it can be really, really detrimental when you're trying to make a long grind. Later in the game, once you've started to build up extra monsters and extra items and such, the game does set a cap on the player for how many items you can carry into the tower at any time. So generally, you know, you might have a weapon and a shield, and then you'll fill your inventory with, So yeah,
it looks like Gene's stream is good.
Yeah, it looks like one of our speed gaming people went and refreshed it for him on their side of things, and it looks like it's much better now. So
Nice.
This is good news. But yeah, so you usually bring like a sword, shield, and then maybe 3 familiars with you, or 2 familiars and a Peter fruit or something like that, and you kind of rely on fruits to get you over long distances when you're fighting a lot. And if you get anorexia, it can be really difficult. So we're seeing both players truck through the 5th floor right now, coming to the end of the safety floors with very little items. It looks like Sarah picked up a steel shield or an iron shield along the way. I believe it's steel from the color. So a little bit of extra defense, but nothing offensive yet for them. Yeah, it absolutely does take a lot of planning. Even when you have, you know, some strong monsters, it's still difficult until you get some of like the cheesier stuff, like arachnes, blocks, clowns, things like that, and you know how to make the most out of them. The game is quite difficult as a casual player, which is part of what makes it good. You know, you wouldn't want to play it through on the first time and immediately get to 40. It would kind of ruin everything.
Yeah.
And even for us runners now, it's like, it's tougher to have fun with the game because it's like, even without abusing things like the Scarlet One and such, it's pretty easy once you know roughly what to expect and what's coming to get up to the 20s or 30s on a first run, and that kind of breaks the progress of the game. The game very much is centered around you exiting and going through a large number of times. All the town-related events move forward, you know, as you go in and come out. So if you blow through the tower in 2 or 3 runs, then a lot of those are just going to be wasted, and then you're just going up the tower once you complete. Like once you've completed it, you're essentially just going up the tower just to move the story along, or to try and find some new monsters, and that can get stale pretty fast. the game definitely suffers a little bit from not having more goals after you beat 40, and that's probably a good part of the reason why they made it so difficult to get to 40. And for the people who know or don't know, there is another version of this game on the GBA.
GB Color.
GB Color, yes, sorry. It was a little older. Where it still has a little bit of the town building aspect. They had to take out the dating sim part of it, but they did manage to fix the flaw of only having the 40 floors. They only have 30 going up, but then there's, I think, like 200 floors going down. So there's still many more goals in the game after you beat the main tower. From what we learned from Programmer, they apparently originally planned to do something similar with this one, but it seems that they either didn't have the time or the budget to get it completed, which is unfortunate. But you can play part of that by using our de-randomizer. I believe that's how you use the second tower. You have to confirm with Sand Knight or Programmer.
Yeah, so you can. There is an option now, and that unlocks the second tower. We're still working on a way to find out how to get it in vanilla. That would be awesome. Then it could be incorporated into speedruns. But yeah, for now, it's hacked in.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the strangest thing we've ever seen. Looks like Gene, unfortunately, suffering a little bit here from having to try and fix up his stream a bit, taking a little bit of a deficit here, but I'm sure he'll make it up. But yeah, you look at things like the KOTOR 2 restoration project and the love and passion that programmers putting into this game, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we eventually see a point where people expand this game. Portaland says that he thought this game was very ugly and almost quit, and now it's one of his favorite evers because he gave it another chance. I'm actually a little bit shocked. I guess that depends on when you played it. I played this when it was pretty fresh, at least coming into the West. So all PS1 games were pretty ugly for the most part. But I thought the anime style from the characters and stuff was actually pretty neat. That gave it a little bit of a unique touch.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought it looked pretty clean and clear, easy to read the text and everything, and even the front cover of the disc, that's probably what attracted me to buy it in the first place. I like the artwork of it as well. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like that was probably a lot of people back then. That was the internet was big. But yeah, it was someone saying that Fatal Labyrinth is way more vicious. I don't know that I want to. There was another game that I played back around that era that was insanely hard. I feel like I'm not the type of person that likes to bash my head against some of these like ridiculously difficult games. It was a game. I'm trying to think of what it was called. It was like a coin-based game. Like coins were the big thing in the game, but I can't remember what it is. It was on PS1 though. Maybe someone will know from those two things. But yeah, I see people playing things like Jump King now, and I'm just like, why? Why do you do this to yourself?
And unlike other games like, say, Legend of Zelda, back then you had no one to turn to when you were stuck.
Yeah, there wasn't even... there may have been a player guide at some point. I know there was one in Japanese. So
there was a Japanese booklet, yeah. I don't think it covered really everything, but it gave some good information.
Yeah, it's just a testament to how mysterious this game was, and that people are still learning and finding things out now. Like, there's plenty of things that we're learning about the game that were absolutely never told anywhere, like how the luck stat works and stuff, and it's all just being data mined. So, 11th floor here for Seraph. He does hit a bad Chaos Trap. Gonna go ahead and pocket his monster and try and figure out how he's gonna handle this. Unfortunately, that's a bowgun troll, so it can hit him. He's in a bad spot. This actually might be it here. Stuck in a corner. He's gonna have to use an item here. He doesn't really have a whole lot.
Still use the Olim.
Yeah.
You should be able to throw it.
Yeah, luckily you can throw consistently. You just can't attack consistently when you're confused, but he's still very low on HP, and he had to use an item that he really didn't want to use. It looks like his item base is still very, very small. They haven't really been able to find anything good. He will pick up another orb here, manipulates the monster to get away a bit. Starglass and Fireball, so that's definitely a good pickup for him, but he has to be super careful. Both a bowgun troll and a griffin both have the option of sniping him with something big. It looks like he should be okay at this point now that he's regained some HP. Gene gonna move on up to floor 9.
Quake Master, there are 40 floors in this tower. 40.
Yeah, technically 38, I guess, because the first and the last don't count, but it's a pretty long climb. 2 blooms here on Gene's side, bit of a tough spot. Seraph moving up to 12. We'll have to see if he continues the trend of picking up the blue collar. Still ignoring all crystals he finds. Seraph says, I don't need no stinking crystals. He does, luckily, find the blue collar, again, on the elevator. Does get shot by that griffin. Looks like he's going to try and move past it. Going to eat a hit here. 2 hits. Very lucky, actually, that Dreamin' didn't put him to sleep. He could have been put to sleep there and ended. That was a really risky play, but he does get away. He does spawn into another bad room, though, and now he's got way less HP to manage as well. Takes a step and ends up in a bad spot. I'll be interested in seeing what he does to try and get out of this. But yeah, he's got absolutely very little. Oh, wow, that's going to kill.
That'll take him down.
So he throws a Chaos Scroll on the Griffin to get it to hopefully miss, but it actually snipes his familiar. Whoa.
He goes all the way around. Wow.
He's doing a merry-go-round trying to get the Griffin to kill that volcano.
Each of those had like a 1 in 8 chance of hitting him, so that was a bit dodgy.
Yeah.
Like 4 chances there.
Making some interesting choices here. But he does get out of there. He gets a little bit of space between him and the volcano because it does decide to poop a rock out. And a Griffin there. Live shield. That's a good shield pickup, but it's not going to matter. The situation keeps getting worse and worse. The Griffin can't high roll and just kill.
He has to take his steps very carefully.
Yeah. He might have to sacrifice that egg here, but that's not great. The fireball will not kill him. He does egg bomb, and it will kill. He's lucky.
Egg bomb was also dodgy because if Palumpa had spawned next to the volcano, he might have gone for volcano instead.
Yeah, and as I said, he could get high roll. Griffin could do about 23 to 25, and he was sitting on 23. So even on a low roll, he was more than likely dead. Gets another malicious scroll. Oh, that's not the path he wanted to take. So he's going to do another loop around and hope that there's less monster density this time, but it's really, really tough. We did see Gene lose his familiar at some point as well. I didn't see how, but that is... Looks like things not going well for either of our runners. It looks like this is probably going to be a very short final race. Power is throwing everything it can at them. Early Neo spawn here for Seraph as well. Really not what he wants to see. Red Sand for Gene. He's going to try and fight this troll. He's got Vital Sword +3. He either rolled a Vital Sword +2 and powered it up, or he's been getting a lot of Red Sand. Fireball here, not going to kill. He's not a high enough level. He's going to take a hit. He can kill this Griffin, but he's going to take a lot of damage from that volcano as well. It will put him at 1 hit if it doesn't crit. Oh no! The ball had no energy, and that's it.
Yep.
He is down. So Gene only has to hit floor 14. I say only with a big asterisk because it's not like it's been easy for him.
Yeah, it will still be tough for Gene as well, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes, but he has the chance for an early victory here, but he is going to face down some pretty rough situations coming up very quickly. And yeah, this goes back to what I said very early into this race, is that if they don't get the items that they need early on, this is just what happens. The tower ramps up in difficulty so fast that if you don't have the items that you need to cheese it, it will just take you apart. Fighting a Dreamin' here, the Dreamin' is just as weak as a Palumpa would be around this level, but it has the ability to put you to sleep. If you're unlucky like Sand Knight, up to 52 some odd turns. He's now up to a Vital Sword +4. His sword is actually extremely strong right now.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Which is good because he actually has the option to fight a little bit here with how strong his sword is.
So looking at the stats, Vital Sword when your luck gets at its lowest, it can go as low as about 93.75% accuracy. Not great, but when you're at your high luck, it's not too bad. It's about 97% accuracy.
Yeah, so he is going to pick up that fireball here. I believe it was actually a fairly low-use ball, unless he used the first one the second time.
Programmer asks, can we switch audio? I guess now that Gene is not lagging too much, I guess it'll be alright, yeah.
Sure, I'll swap that over for you guys. Let me know if it's a bit too choppy.
So yeah, as Alaric points out, no matter what happens in the tower, your familiars do keep their experience and stats.
Gene picking up the convenient blue collar, despite the fact that he's very unlikely to be this run. Safety pickup, just in case. And yeah, he spawns into a bad room, and with very little to help him out. So all he has to do is get through this floor, and he wins this race. But it's not going to be easy. From what I remember, it was a fairly large floor as well. So unless he makes the right steps, and already getting pinched, he does
might
have
be able to pick up the volcano.
Yeah, he does have more items than Seraph did at this point. He does also have the high ground here. Clean this up pretty... Oh, okay. I feel like his sword was strong enough that he could have just finished that off, but he opts to go full safety here, trying to conserve his HP. Both audios should not be on. That's weird. Let me double check. It doesn't sound like it to me.
I can't... I don't hear...
Yeah, I only hear Gene's, so... he does use the truth glass to check how many shots he has in that fireball. Only 4, but that will be enough to keep him going, at least for a little bit here. 2 griffins in the room behind him, so he's got to be very careful. Yeah, this time he does opt to use the sword instead of the second shot, and he did have enough damage on the sword now that he can just use a ball and then finish off a volcano. I believe it would still take 2 ball shots to kill a griffin, though.
Yeah.
I think that might actually be the room where the elevator... So he might have it. Kraken here. He's going to avoid the Kraken. No elevator yet. He's going to have to keep moving. But
so
still...
Corey is too. It could just be the music. I mean, this particular song has several tones and melodies being played simultaneously. But I don't know what they're hearing exactly.
Yeah, I would say try refreshing, because I've only got one audio on my side. Gets cut off by a griffin here. He's going to keep moving. Surprised he didn't just try and finish it off, but I guess he doesn't know that he's only 1 floor away from winning, so he doesn't know that he just needs to find the elevator. He's playing a bit more conservatively, trying to keep from using the last of his ball shots here.
Yeah, he hasn't run into any huge griffin trouble so far.
Does pick up the malicious scroll. I believe that the elevator's to the left of this room, so we'll see if he knows the right way. Slam trap, not too consequential. He does go left. Oh no, it looks like it is to the north, so yeah. I believe there's only 1 room left that it can be, so as long as he gets through this, he should be okay. He does run into the same mule that Seraph did. Gonna go ahead and malicious scroll it. Doesn't want to deal with it. Let's roll the dice. That is a Kraken. He's gonna have to wait for that by. Luckily, it is moving in the right direction, so he's not gonna get pinched by 2 water monsters. Another mule stopping him. Looks like the game's doing everything it can to try and stop him from winning here. But he does still have a couple fireball shots left. And he actually can't get to that room from here. He has to look back around. This is a very strange floor with only 1 entrance to the elevator. Very, very unlucky.
Yeah, Corey, I think it's just the song. This particular song sounds a bit jarring. Maybe it's supposed to reflect like how things start to take a turn for the worse when you get to this part of the...
Yeah, this is kind of the first time where you really deal with a lot of the much harder monsters, so... And he does make it back around, so he is on his way to the final room where the elevator will have to be. No. Apparently it keeps going. Wow. This is a huge floor, man. Two Krakens, though. I believe there still is another path back the way he came. So it's possible
he can't get past those two, really.
Yeah, even if he starts firing fireball shots, I don't think he has enough to get through them both. He does have a Newell behind him, though, so he's kind of forced to fight. Yeah, you can throw the Light Seed, which should let him one-shot one of them. And then he can double-shot the other, and then I think he can finish it off with a sword shot. So yeah, 2 shots will kill this one. He still has a 3rd shot, at least on that one ball. I'm not sure how many he has in the first ball, but he should be okay here. He should be able to fight down the last one with his sword after he runs out of charges.
As long as he's been keeping track of the first one, because the first one's the initial one you get.
Oh, he's empty on the first one, so he's just going to have to fight it out here. Oh, he's going to opt to run instead.
Yeah, he can do it, but...
So he can't take any hits. Oh, boy, okay. So if there's not a room following this, it means that the elevator is all the way on the other side. Which means that he's going to have to loop all the way around. Oh, and it is there, so that's it. That is going to be the victory for Gene. Gene is going to take it tonight off the back of a very, very harrowing 13th floor, so I'll go ahead and let our runners know.
Yeah, that was a crazy floor.
Yeah, so not only did they not really get any items early on, hang on. Just gonna go ahead and call them in for an interview here, but
Sure.
do I not have the ability to do that? I thought I did. Give me a quick second here. But yeah, not only did the seed really withhold items from them there, but the amount of monsters and problems that they had to face on that 13th floor, as well as being just about as big as a floor can be, was pretty crazy.
So it looks like Gene has stopped running.
Hello.
Hello, Seraph.
So we're joined by Seraph. Unfortunately, not quite taking the victory, but getting very, very close. He really almost had it. That final floor
Gene
was
is actually down
insane.
14, so that's where it would have ended.
Extremely close race. Alright, so Gene will be joining us shortly. Seraph, are you alive over there? Oh, I think he might be having issues with his mic.
I was making sure I was making sure that I didn't have my speakers going on, so that way there wouldn't be an echo.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, you almost clinched that out, man. It was very, very close.
Yeah. I was watching his at the end. I was like, "Oh my god!" I knew that the only way I was gonna have a chance after I died was if he had as bad of luck as I did. And watching him, I'm like, it was not much better.
Yep, that last floor was real bad. He actually, I don't know if you just saw, but he died on 14. It just immediately after. Yeah, it was real rough. He had to face down a Newell and 2 Krakens on the way to the elevator. And he was like one shot. Like, it was so close. He just barely got through it.
Yeah, I mean, he exhausted everything he had in his pocket, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I blame that last seed on Sand Knight.
Yeah, Sand Knight always, hang on, sorry, he's a little bit confused.
Yeah. I mean, when we get to the second floor and we're surrounded by that many enemies,
Yeah, I mean, pretty much every step of the way for both of you, like, it was very low items and very high monster density, so it was just really, really brutal. And we have Hextree joining us now. Congratulations.
Gene?
Oh, sorry. It's late, guys. It's late. I'm tired.
Yeah. GG, Gene.
Gene, you need to unmute yourself first. There
good?
we go. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
GG,
Wow.
man.
GG,
That was
Gene.
something.
That was. Yeah.
Yeah, you both.
That was insane.
Yeah, you both had so little items, and you both got to 13, and then the 13th floor just brutalized both of you, and you barely managed to get through, and he didn't.
Lucky
Yeah,
number 13.
It's late, guys.
how was the
I'm
13th
Yeah.
floor? Which got
GG.
there first?
Seraph got
Oh,
there
the 13th.
Seraph got there quite a bit ahead of you.
Yeah.
And then he basically just got
Ran
messed
into
up left and
Griffins.
right. Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
And
GG, man.
because the floor was so large and strangely laid
GG,
out, like
Gene, that
he
was-
actually got around the floor like
Yeah.
several times,
Yeah,
but
you
he just
both-
couldn't find the right way to go.
Yeah, you both had so little items, and you both got to 13.
And then he
and then
eventually got screwed by Griffins. So it was
Yeah.
like really tough on both of you.
Oh yeah. All the seeds were very. I don't know. That was great.
Yeah.
That was definitely that was definitely a showcase of Azure Dreams from one side to another.
I don't feel like that was like us fighting each other, something like that. It was us competing against the tower. That was all against the tower.
Yeah, there were some extremely
Yeah.
brutal seeds in there.
At one point, Gene, I don't think you have seen it, but I had a train of 4 mules
Yeah.
behind me.
Yeah, you just kept attracting the mules, and then you got rid of 2 of them, and then there was another in front of you.
Yeah, I was like,
Ah.
oh my god, I can't believe I got out of that one alive.
There were, I think, a couple situations on both sides where I was really shocked that you guys got out of it.
That was definitely tight, and the early go up trap didn't help. I think it was on the last seed.
On
Ironically, the early grow up trap didn't really cost you pretty much nothing on those floors.
Okay.
yeah, the one that was on floor 3, you mean? On the
Yeah.
3rd seed?
Or
Yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I hit that one and it didn't actually go off for me, so I was looking around. Yeah, like they said, I don't think I found a single thing there.
Okay, that's rough. I'm not sure if I've ever played a seed with that low supply of items
Yeah.
to use.
The worst
It
part
was
too is
bad.
that you actually found more stuff than Seraph did. Like when Seraph got to 13, like he had nothing.
Yeah, that was rough. That was basically a coin flip at that point.
Yeah,
It
I
turned
tuned
out,
in to watch your because I was like, oh, it's not showing anything yet, and I tune in. I'm like, oh man, I could still win this just because there's no guarantee he'll find the elevator. That floor was just
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, it was close. There was 1 or 2 points on 13 where I was pretty sure that Gene was dead and that was it, that you were actually going to win, even though you had died so early. I was like, that 13th floor, man, it was so insane, but he just managed to barely squeeze by and finally found that elevator and managed to make it.
Yeah.
Definitely got lucky there a couple of times. There's no, that was so
I need
tight.
to go back. I need to go back and find where that monster den that killed you on the 2nd seed was, because apparently I missed it by 1 step.
Yeah, it was because you grabbed the egg and the square next to it was the monster trap. If you'd gone a step further, you were done.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What happened to
and,
Gene was that he went and he grabbed the egg, and then he kept going, but then he circled back and he stepped on it on the way back, and that killed him.
Oh man.
And I immediately knew what I did wrong when I threw the holy scroll. I do have the bad habit of not realizing to use it on myself. There definitely was enough firepower. I could have poisoned the whole bunch first of all, and then just keep, start blasting with the balls. I definitely would have gotten out of that, but at the moment I threw that holy scroll, I knew at that point, like shoot, I should have.
That saved me on the last floor that I guess you died on the 2nd seed, because I ran into, I think it was 3 mules. Like, I hate those stupid basically horses. They were following me.
Actually after my death.
it.
Yeah, actually after my death, I came to see the rest of the stream, and there were
Did you?
nap glasses. Naplasses
Oh, they were
were
nap
chasing
lasses?
you.
That's
but
right. That's what they
yeah,
were.
and used to
Some
guard
sort
with the
of
Holy Scroll. Yeah,
equestrian thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
if I
was,
hadn't had that, it would have been over.
yeah, it was very close for both of you. And yeah, Gene, I think we talked about it briefly at the time, but it was like, I think the only way that you had any chance against, you had to use the Holy Scroll on yourself. You had to probably use the other Holy Scroll to charm a monster, and then maybe blind one, and then just try and exit the room while they dealt with that.
yeah.
Like, it was going to be like there was no guarantee even if you'd use it yourself. Like, it was such a bad monster den, it was crazy.
Yeah, but it was so cool to hit the monster den in the tournament. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always exciting.
Is that the first monster den in the tournament, by the way?
In
I
this
can't
one,
recall any.
I
Yeah.
know that I remember I hit one on I think the 3rd floor, but that was back in the last tournament, I think. So that might be the first one for this tournament, but I'm not 100% on that. But
Either
it was
way.
definitely fun to see. And yeah, when Seraph hit that floor, and I was like, I wonder if he's just going to be like, if he can resist the temptation of the egg and just keep moving, and he just beeline right for it. And I was like, oh no, this could be it.
That's Azure dreams for you.
Yeah, you fight the tower, not each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
GG, Gene. Good luck with whoever
GG,
you have to
Seraph,
face.
that was a coin flip. That was a coin
Yeah.
flip. And thanks. Yeah.
If, I,
I'll
if
make
I'm
sure,
gonna go out, if I'm gonna go out, I prefer be on a good match that it just the tower decided.
Yeah, you guys both played extremely well. Neither of you should feel bad about how you played. It was a crazy set of seeds, and you both did fantastic. We'll close it out for the night, so I want to say thank you to you guys for racing for us.
Yeah.
Thanks for commentating.
Yes, and thank you for Hextree for being here with me this late at night as we watched. I hope everybody out there really enjoyed these races as much as we did. Definitely jump in the Discord if you did. Come and hang out with us. Take a look at the Azure Memes channel. See the Horrible Angel.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you all have a good night.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yep. Good job, guys. See you later.